Initiating podcast download. Prepare yourself. Put on your spandex. Lace up your boots. Wrap your wrists. Hide your razor blade. Head to gorilla position. Grease up your hair. Apply baby oil. Okay, apply more baby oil. Get into gimmick. Keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Have fun and be safe out there, brother. Welcome to Iron on Wrestling. Now your host, Gregory Iron.
Hello everyone, I am Gregory Iron, and I am your host for Iron on Wrestling with Gregory Iron. That's why it's called that. And this is the first episode, and I'm very excited. We dropped episode 0 as a surprise last Friday to kind of set up the podcast and test everything. And if you're listening to this now, hopefully you're downloading it on one of the available platforms, which as of this recording, should be some big ones like SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, TuneIn. It's also up on YouTube. I'm hoping, at this moment, it's not currently on iTunes, but it could be as you're listening to this. That's a big deal if we're on iTunes for you. That's where it's available right now, and if you can't remember any of those, you can actually go to my website, www.gregory-iron.com, where there is a media player set up where you can listen to the podcast right there on my website. And if you're not following Iron on Wrestling on the social media platforms, you should be, because it's on Facebook. So like us over on Facebook at Iron on Wrestling, Twitter at Iron on Wrestling, and you're not going to believe this, but the Instagram is also at Iron on Wrestling. Give us a like, put some comments in there. Get some interaction.
Pardon the interruption.
Oh.
Hey.
Where did you come from?
I just walked in.
What?
Yeah, they called me.
Oh, my God.
They
Eric.
called me.
Jesus.
Hey, pardon the interruption, but Aaron Bauer, Aaron McGuire, or just Aaron Simmons, whatever you want to call me, I'm here because, again, I got the call, and I'm here to start my new podcast. Aaron on Wrestling.
Whoa, no. I mean, technically it's my podcast, but I did want you involved. I wish you would have showed up on time, just kind of jumping into this whole thing.
So it's, this is my podcast.
No.
And it's called Aaron on Wrestling.
No.
And if you want to like me on Instagram or follow my stories on the Twitter, then you can follow me on, your podcast.
Yeah, it's my podcast.
I mean, it could be both our podcasts.
I mean, I'm willing to share it with you a little bit.
Because we're close.
Yes, you're a good friend of mine. I appreciate your insight.
I consider us like brothers.
Wow, that's strong.
Only closer.
I don't know what that means. I think.
Why are you staring at me?
Well, I mean, we're having a conversation. That's usually how people talk. Interact.
That's how they talk.
Yeah,
people do talk.
Make eye contact.
And we're going to make some eye contact and make some conversation today.
I would like to do that. I see you quite often, and
yes.
I keep up with
every
you.
Monday.
Even though you're not as involved in professional wrestling as you used to be.
Right.
For those that don't know, I met Aaron through wrestling. Obviously, I've met most of my friends through wrestling. When I started in 2006, I knew him as a manager, and he was slowly transitioning into pro wrestling commentary. But you were in wrestling well before I even got involved in 2006.
Before you were born, correct?
I don't think that's true.
I believe I started training in 96, 97.
Okay. I was born in 86, so you're lying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
86 was a good year.
Great year.
96 was even better because I entered professional wrestling.
Uh-huh.
And started building rings, promoting shows, training. And if we could be honest here. Can we be honest here? Is that what this podcast is about?
I like to
honesty.
think the listeners would like honest answers.
Honest, fair, everywhere. It's air.
Wow.
AAR. A breath of fresh air.
Jesus Christ. Unbelievable.
Hey, so yeah, I did some things. Ran a show or two, trained. So again, being brutally honest here.
Yep.
I may have been the worst professional wrestler ever.
Why do you say that?
Because I was the worst professional wrestler ever.
I mean, I've seen some pretty terrible professional wrestlers. I mean, how bad could you have possibly been?
The worst. There's no one worse than me. There was never anyone who ever took a worse looking bump than I did.
What was your tryout like?
Let's see. My first initial tryout, I called. There was a commercial during Nitro.
Okay.
It was about, I don't know, maybe 10 p.m., something like that. And it was for Samson's Powerhouse in Lorain, Ohio. I want to talk to Samson.
That's right.
And so I called immediately because this commercial aired. Say it aired at 9:45.
Okay.
Commercial airs.
Okay.
And do you want to be a pro wrestler?
Yep.
Do you want to be a manager in pro wrestling?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to do anything at all in pro wrestling? Well, Samson's Powerhouse is the place to go. Finally, there's a wrestling school near you. Call today. Call now. So what I do? I grab the phone, and I called now.
That's what they said, so you got to do what they say.
So guy answers the phone. Hello. He's a little sleepy, maybe. I don't know what's going on, but he says, and I says, hey, I'm calling about the wrestling commercial I just saw on Nitro. I'd like to attend the wrestling school. I'd like to give you money to attend your wrestling school, which I'm sure is completely professional.
Yeah.
And the guy says, what the hell are you doing calling me at 9:45 at night? I said, well, your commercial just aired on Nitro, and it said, call now.
Yeah.
And so I'm calling now. And he said, oh, shit. All right. You know where the gym is? Well, I'll just be up there tomorrow.
Okay.
What gym? Where? Call me tomorrow. I'm in the middle of sleeping.
Jesus Christ.
And that's what happened. So I called the next day. He gave me the directions, which actually the gym was like legitimately 3 blocks away from me.
Okay.
But I lived in a rough part of the neighborhood, so I knew it probably wasn't maybe the best quote-unquote gym that I could find, but who cares? Because my dream was to be a professional wrestler, to be in professional wrestling, and this guy was going to help me facilitate that. I was gonna have my dream come true. So I walked into the building, to the gym, and there were a couple guys there that were working out in the ring, 3 guys actually, and then the guy that was going to train me walked up in crutches, and immediately I went with a friend of mine, Sal, and he was interested too, but was a little more sketchy than I was. You know, he was a little more apprehensive.
Yeah.
So we walked in. He goes, the guy that's going to train you has a broken leg right now.
Of course he does.
Somebody took liberties with him already. There's no way this is going to be good. All to the bad right now.
Yeah.
All to the bad.
Yeah.
And I go, no. I'm not giving up on my dream. Let's see. So tryout's free, which was so nice of him.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, right?
Great price.
So I got what I paid for.
Yeah, okay.
I got in the ring with these 2 guys in the Zubaz American flag pants and white turtlenecks. Let me see. One you may know.
Okay.
Wally,
I've
the
heard-
Juggernaut.
I've heard of Wally the Juggernaut.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one that was in the ring as well was a man by the name of G-Mo. So I'm not sure. Are you familiar with?
You know, I'm not going to delve too much into it, but G-Mo does make a cameo during today's Johnny Gargano interview, which we'll get back to.
I'm so happy right now.
People will know about G-Mo.
So it's like I'm giving back to the business.
Absolutely.
To my forefathers.
Yes. Theater of Pain forever.
So the other guy there was he was in a hood or a mask, as some like to call it, And he was kind of on the outside. He had done some moonsaults and stuff like that when I had first come in. So I thought we were legit. That was Rod Destiny. But he was going under some other name, like the Southern Hillbilly or some shit.
That's very creative.
I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
But he was transitioning. He was going to get his mask taken off. He was going to become the All-American.
Okay.
So Rod sits down. He's on the outside. These other guys are in the ring. And they're trying to get me to take bumps, back bumps. And it's not working out so well. And so I believe Gmo gets down on all fours behind me. And Wally just pushes me.
Okay.
You know, and it's the old,
Yeah.
schoolboy type of,
Right. Well, because,
that trick.
you're falling down on your back isn't exactly a natural motion. Some guys just can't do it right away.
So I did that, and I knew, oh, God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm the worst.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look at me, and they're going to say, get out of our gym.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? You're disrespecting the business by coming in here acting like you could be a professional wrestler. Instead, it was the opposite reaction. Everybody there, especially the guy that ran the gym, the promoter, the owner, whatever, told me, hey, this guy's got it. Can you guys believe this? And I was like, wait a minute. Something's wrong here because I don't got it. Whatever it is, I ain't got it.
Yeah.
I might be able to talk or I might be able to do something where like I could, sell T-shirts or something along the lines of being in the wrestling business. But wrestler, not going to work for me. Oh, no, kid. You've got it. We haven't seen anybody with this much pure natural talent since we opened this business.
Okay.
Oh, really? Yeah, so if you want, come back tomorrow with $3,000.
Okay. Yeah. This isn't a scam
Because
at all.
this is your shot.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you the opportunity to become a professional wrestler, live your dream.
Yeah.
And you have everything that it takes to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I left, and I called my dad, and I go, hey, I have $3,000 in my bank account.
Oh, God. You're really going to give him $3,000?
And my dad's like, $3,000, there's no way. There's no way a dude on East 28th Street in South Lorraine, Ohio, is going to train you to be a professional wrestler, and it's going to work out. There's no way. No way at all. Please, for the love of God, don't take the money that everybody gave you for college at your graduation party, because this was 95 or 96, right when I graduated. Don't take that money and do this. Please buy a computer. There's something called the internet.
Yeah.
It's there's an AOL chat room. You could get in there for WWF, and you could talk to people about wrestling. Don't do this. It's so much money. So next day, promoter calls, asks if I have the $3,000. No, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it because I was nervous, but I was ready to hand over the $3,000. I just needed him to give me a couple more compliments or something. So he goes, well, you know what we could do? $2,000. Give me $2,000 cash, and you can make payments on the rest. And then that way, if you're not sure about it, then you only have lost, $2,000 instead of $3,000.
So now all of a sudden, you this
Now,
place is
like,
becoming a bargain.
Could be affordable.
Yeah.
And I could get a computer for $1,000 or $800 or something. So I contemplated. I thought about it. I prayed hard about it. I talked to some more people. And there was not one person that I spoke to that was like, hey, that sounds like a good idea.
Of course not.
Nope. So I was, love is blind.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up not spending that money on the wrestling school. I waited for a little bit because if things are meant to be, then they'll be.
Sure.
If it's meant to be, it'll be.
Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, it was like, I don't know, within a year, I was security guard at a hotel. Tommy Wildfire Rich was staying at the hotel that night.
Oh, boy.
And Tommy hooked me up with Rod Destiny.
I thought you were going to say
was the
crack.
Southern Hillbilly from earlier. Tommy did not hook me. Straight edge. And
yeah.
so Tommy hooks me up with this promoter, which I end up realizing was the guy that was under the hood that I saw first at Sampson's. Well, now this guy had his own promotion that he was going to run with Animal Steel.
Georgie Animal Steel.
No. Howard, the Animal Steel.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
Yeah, right.
He was the brother of George Steele, or
Not
this another
not
scam
related at all.
Okay. But they build him as Animal Steel
Right.
because he kind of looked like him, and then so they would try to trick people.
Yes.
To get people in the venue. Actually, so I remember the story because when the dude passed away,
Yeah.
People thought locally that George the Animal Steel actually died.
They're going to do a tribute on Raw.
Like, what the hell, man? So dumb.
However, this Animal Steel, whether he was George or Howard or whoever, he was involved in the training of Sabu and Rob Van Dam and Ref Pee Wee Moore, according to him.
Okay.
So there was some legitimacy because I met all those guys through Animal Steel.
Right.
So there was something to Animal Steel, whether it was the real one or not. The story was WWF at the time had 3 Animal Steels. So that way, if they were in Cleveland, they would use this guy.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just
But if
got
they
him on
were in
reserve.
Detroit, they'd use the guy that was the guy.
Yeah,
It
the
was
real
like
one.
George,
Yeah.
actual George the Animal Steel.
Yeah.
This guy looked like him, though. I mean, I thought it was him.
I've
And he
seen
used to
pictures.
tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that time I wrestled Kamala
He remembers that time.
on Coliseum Home Video. Yeah. It was-
Yeah.
I remember him telling me that Steve Lombardi, best compliment I ever heard about anybody. He said, light as feathers. Light as feathers. And you just thought, wow, man, hope somebody could say that about me someday.
Yeah.
Because I sandbag people.
I wish you would have made the comment like the Kamala thing, Coliseum Home Video, and said like, oh, it was like an out of body experience. It was like I was watching it in a 3-camera shot type situation and all that. You know, like just because.
I could have went with it, yeah.
Yeah.
However, but in the long run, he did hook me up. Got me, with, he hooked me up with these other guys, these ECW guys, and I worked with Rod and trained with Rod and built rings with Rod and got buildings. I learned all kinds of stuff. Don't call yourself the owner of the federation because you could get sued.
Yeah.
If we're going to run a show together, let's call ourselves promoters instead of owners.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I sucked real bad at wrestling. Real early in, I decided I'm not going to be a wrestler, but I could be like a commissioner, a manager. I saw what Bill Afonso was doing in ECW, and that was awesome because he was like the state athletic commissioner that would, he was appointed by the state athletic commission as this referee. So I thought if I could be the actual heel commissioner, because honestly, we all hated the state athletic commission in Ohio. Like they were the heels. They'd come in, you'd promote a show, and they would take they'd get your draw, and then they'd say, okay, well, you were charging $8 a ticket, and there's 72 people here, so we're gonna take and then whatever it was like half the money.
That's so crazy because, and me and Johnny talk about it in the interview coming up. The Ohio State Athletic Commission, as long as I've been around, has been a freaking joke.
Yeah.
They don't do anything like that. Not since
Right.
I've been wrestling.
Yeah, it stopped. I would have to say I don't know, maybe a year or two into me promoting shows.
Interesting.
Or me co-promoting shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a real thing, man. They would show up. There was a guy that showed up. I can picture him now. Anyway, he would show up and he would count the amount of people that were there. And then he'd say, okay, I'm counting 212 people here. And then I would have to say, well, only 60 of those are paid. Everybody else is family, friends, or we donated to the local school or something. So that way he wasn't taking most of our money.
Right.
So, that's the deal there. But that's how I got in, and then I went from being commissioner and wrestling a few really god-awful, horrible matches to managing a little bit, and Danny Daniels. I think that might have been
Yeah.
JT Lightning. Those were the first two guys that I managed.
Yeah.
Toby Rudo. So that was it. And then from there, I ended up in commentary, which I wanted to do my whole life because of Bobby the Brain Heenan. Not sure if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah, I think I've heard a little thing or two about him.
Okay.
And I think you excelled at commentary and managing, and not just in commentary. I mean, you've commentated over some of the matches of some of the biggest and brightest names in wrestling right now, and you've worked with
Hobo
a
Joe.
lot of guys.
Yeah.
Well, Hobo Joe, of course. Like, he just
I-
got a
I
name drop
commented-
on one of Conrad's podcasts
No.
last week. So, I mean,
Conrad.
you know he's a big deal. Conrad Thompson, have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say he's a friend of the show, even though this is literally
Conrad's
the
a
first
friend of the
episode.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a friend of the show. What's up, Conrad? But yeah, you've worked with some great names,
Connie.
and you have a good mind for wrestling, and you've helped write storylines and architect some great angles. That's why I wanted you on this podcast, because I respect your opinion. So I don't know what you've been up to this week.
Yeah.
But I wanted to delve into my wrestling journey.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So I know you had a huge weekend. You wrestled a bunch of matches.
Yeah.
You got your car vandalized, maybe. I don't know. Just tell me everything right
Yeah.
now.
So my
All right,
wrestling.
we got 2 minutes. So
Okay,
go ahead.
Jeez, I gotta make it quick here. Basically, I started on Wednesday. Went to Dayton, Ohio for Rockstar Pro Wrestling, which was cool because I hadn't been there for a while, and they have a new venue. And wrestled a couple good dudes there. Aaron Williams, Lord Crew, had a nice little tag match with a kid by the name of Atticus Koger, trained by Ricky Shane Page. He's a good.
I've heard of
kid.
him. I've heard of him.
He's a good kid, and actually, I don't know if he wants to be mentioning this, but he's actually been helping me with a lot of the podcast stuff, and I really appreciate that because he's.
Is he in the truck now?
He's in the truck. Atticus, if you can hear me, if you can turn the sound up just a tad, I appreciate that. Yeah, right there. Okay. And, yeah, he's a good kid, and he's been getting out there a lot, and we had a cool match on Wednesday. Thursday, I was supposed to wrestle for Ian Rotten for IWA Mid-South. I'm sure you had some dealings with Ian, which we won't even. All you got to do. That's the only reaction.
I've
you're
taken
needing.
some bumps from him.
I'm sure there's a whole podcast.
And I'm not talking wrestling.
Yeah, okay. There's a whole podcast about Ian, I imagine. But I've had nothing but good experiences with Ian over the years, and he
I
can't.
like his Cal Ripken tattoo.
I
You know who Cal Ripken is?
I know who-
baseball player.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're a big baseball fan, aren't you?
I'm a big baseball guy, you
Yeah.
piece of shit. Sarcasm here, folks, because I just happen to appreciate Cleveland Indians baseball. I guess apparently, I'm
Greg's favorite player was Rick Wild Thing Vaughn.
okay.
Loves baseball.
Yeah, he's great. So Ian canceled his show on Thursday. So that kind of sucked because I was looking forward to going back to IWA Mid-South. Friday, I was
Ian canceled the show.
He canceled it. Yeah. I don't hold that against him. Okay?
I'm not holding anything against him.
Apparently,
I wasn't booked.
The air conditioning was broken in the venue, and it was going to be extra hot on Thursday.
Yeah,
so
a lot of heat.
But
And you're not used to that, are you?
I don't know if I've ever gotten heat in my life.
Right, okay.
But I'm sure things will be back to good soon, and I hope to be at IW Mid-South in the coming weeks. But Friday, got back to business in Chicago for freelance, and that's when my freaking car got broken into, which was, of course, I
Wait a minute. Did you have the podcast equipment in the car?
Podcast equipment was actually in the car because I didn't.
they
know if
didn't
I was
take
gonna-
it.
They didn't take anything. What they
Okay.
did was they just wanted to make a huge inconvenience to my life and just shatter the backside window.
Are
and
you
my
a heel
windshield.
at wherever this venue
I am
was?
such a baby face.
Really?
Freelance in Chicago. They're doing a good thing. They run Logan Square Auditorium, same place that AAW runs shows out there. And
Never
yeah,
heard of it.
I was planning my match with a kid by the name of Candice LeRae, which has an interesting story in itself because he actually wrestles blind in one eye, which is pretty cool, and he's super talented.
Can he catch a baseball?
I don't know. You're gonna have to ask him yourself.
Oh, that's Conrad.
We planned out a cool match, and of course, 5 minutes before I go to the ring, Atticus Koger came up to me and said, "Hey man, I just went to your car. Someone shattered out your fucking window." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And then he was like, "They told me to wait till after your match to tell you, but I figured you need to know now." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, Atticus. I appreciate that because now I'm just actually pissed off before I go to the ring, and like I'm trying to remember this match." And
What do you mean remember a match?
well,
Maybe after the match you would remember
did I
it.
say remember the match? I
Yeah.
meant I was trying to get focused and concentrate because wrestling, professional wrestling specifically, is about having the better
Competition.
men win. You know,
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
pure
Like,
competition.
You got to be in the zone. You got to be
Okay.
on your game. You know, to make
Yeah.
sure you're the better man. So luckily, I went to the ring and I had a banger of a match, as the kids would say, with Eye Candy Elliott. Actually,
I like it. I like Eye Candy Elliott.
He's,
I don't know him. I mean, I've commentated on him a couple times.
Yeah.
I've seen him, but I like the name, and
yeah.
he's over with me.
Yeah, it's a nice little pun because the blindness, obviously, but also I would say he's an attractive young man.
Yeah.
And he works
Despite the situation with his eye.
For sure. I mean,
Okay.
kind of like me being an incredibly attractive man, despite the situation with my crooked, disgusting, deformed cerebral palsy hand.
I hadn't noticed.
You didn't hear about that?
Oh, that's why they call you. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it now.
One-armed
Okay.
and dangerous, yeah. So we had a great match. I really had a blast with him. He really, took me to another level. Just it's nice working with talented dudes because it's not all the time that I get to be in there with, we've had discussions before. Sometimes I get put in there with shit bags, and it's very frustrating for me.
Yeah, back in '97, they would have threw you in there with me.
Oh boy,
hard times. However, we did wrestle each other once, and we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, for sure. In
but
prison.
that's a good
in
story.
prison.
Yes, in a prison.
Yeah. Saturday, I despite my car window being shattered, I made a pit stop at my dad's house because he's an actual
Oh, they never
man.
close.
No, come on. No one knows
Pit
about
stop.
it. Pit Stop's been closed for a long time because the owner died, and they had
Oh,
no
that's
choice
my
but
bad.
to close. Pit Stops used to be a sponsor for Pro Wrestling Ohio, and their slogan was, we never close.
Yeah.
So, I guess they didn't have locks on their doors or something because they were just always open, but then the owner died. So
R.I.P. to the owner,
Yeah.
and R.I.P. stands for, obviously, rest and pit stop.
Okay.
Forever.
That's ridiculous.
I'm sorry about
So I stopped at my dad's because he's an actual man, and he just put a little thick plastic on my window so I can get to my shots and get the business going. And so I went to Erie, PA, Revenge Pro Wrestling on Saturday, first time in a while, and I had a four-way match with Rex Brody, who is a stuntman, not a real stuntman. That's his gimmick. Yeah. He used to wrestle as Morty Rackham, Pirate. You know him.
Yeah.
And
A pirate. Okay.
also a kid by the name of Joe Keys. He's done some stuff for Future of Honor, Ring of Honor, and he's from the Maryland area. And then Atticus Cogar was in this match again. So we had a nice little four-way, and I felt
interesting.
I want to see this match back because I felt super athletic. Okay, I feel like I try to create the illusion that I'm an athlete, but Rex called some stuff for the match where it was like we did a. I've never actually done it this way before, but I know he's good, and he was going to take care of me. We did a almost like we teased like we were going to do a Tower of Doom, and with me, Atticus, and him, and Joe Keys tried to come up and stop it.
Yeah.
Bipped us all off, and then Rex bipped off Joe Keys, who was trying to superplex him. So then I came back up, and I'm like, we're chopping back and forth, and I'm on the outside of the rope, and as I'm chopping him, he's working down the rope, standing with his feet on the second rope, and I went up to the top and did the old suck my balls Rana from the very top rope. I jumped out to the middle of the ring and Rana-ed him in. Hurricaned him in. It sounds better that way. Hurricaned him in.
Frankensteiner?
Frankensteiner, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if Scott Steiner's here, he'd beat my ass if he knew I was saying Hurricane. But I did a super Rana from the top.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of fireworks after that. The way we set it up, it was boom, Rana, and then as soon as I hit, Joe Keys hit me with a shot, and then he hit me with a suplex, and then while he was suplexing me, Atticus came with a springboard moonsault, and then when he popped up and was selling the moonsault, I popped up and hit him with a code breaker in the face, and then it was just it was a banger. It was a banger of a match. It was fun. I had a good time with those guys, and then Sunday I wrestled literally 4 times at a 4-way at a show in Ontario.
Pardon the interruption again,
Sure.
but I gotta say this. I always kind of liked Rex Brody.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and I appreciate the way he's reinvented himself several times.
Oh, yeah.
He was a pirate.
Yep.
He was a bag lady for a while. I don't remember everything he did. I think he was an amateur golf pro or something. I don't even know what it is, but he's always coming up with something else. And then I think maybe in the later stages of PWO TV, he worked as a producer.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of the agenting in the back, which was nice because he spent some time in FCW when you could still pay to go train there, and he just acquired a wealth of knowledge, and he was able to help a lot of guys that really needed it because there were some guys lower on the roster that needed that assistance, and it made TV I think a lot better towards the
I
end.
think a lot of times with indie guys, They think things aren't important that really are.
For sure.
Like getting your character right, living in that character, your promos, stuff in ring where you're, maybe making contact with the crowd and such.
Yep.
But if I were to say that to them, maybe it doesn't hold as much water as somebody who was actually in the WWE developmental system.
Yeah.
So, like, he brought, like, some legitimacy to that.
For sure.
And he is a guy that's all about character. I mean, obviously, again, he was a pirate. He's a wrestling stunt man.
Yep.
He was a high school teacher. I don't remember what he did.
I don't think that's a character.
He was a garbage man.
All
He was
right.
an evil clown.
Uh-huh.
He was half man, half mentor.
You're ridiculous.
He was a rhinoceros.
Just stop.
He had a
For the love of God.
friend. Okay.
So Sunday in Canada,
Yeah.
I had a 1:00 show, and I wrestled the first match, 4-way against a kid by the name of Cody Lane, Matt Kenway, Thomas Shire. Had a nice little 10 to 12 minute match there. Then I immediately hopped in my car, went to Alpha One Wrestling, and I wrestled 3 more times Sunday afternoon. I wrestled in a scramble where I took 2 German suplexes from a man named Hornswoggle.
Yeah, sounds familiar. I think.
Yeah. That was an interesting situation. I got to wrestle with Hornswoggle a little bit there, and that
Sounds
match,
a little familiar.
Little familiar, yeah.
Did you hear it? I
Yeah,
said it.
I like that pun. And then that match went right into another match, which was mentally taxing against Hakeem Zayn from Impact fame currently.
I'm sorry, Akeem?
Hakeem.
Oh, Hakeem.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the African Dream.
No. Hakeem
Not
Zayn.
the same guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, he works for Impact, and he's been doing a cool little angle with Cody Deaner. He's a great dude. Even though we went right into that second match, he made it easy on me, and then I had to come back out for the main event, and it was Cody Lane, Shane Saber, and Mark Wheeler. Mark Wheeler and Shane Saber are 2 guys from Ontario area that have been getting out into the States over the past few years, and they're
Either of them blind in one eye.
No.
Okay.
No. Candy Elliott's the only one that I know of, blind in one eye, but they're incredibly
What
talented.
about Pierre?
PCO.
Yeah,
no,
that guy.
No, he wasn't there.
No, but is he blind in one
actually,
eye?
oh yeah, he is. Oh.
Yeah, and he can catch a baseball, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Cody Lane. I can't say enough good things about Cody. He's a 22-year-old kid based out of Oklahoma, where he was born. Actually, he currently lives in St. Louis, but he's born in Oklahoma, and he's super
Sooner.
talented.
Yeah.
And I wrestled these dudes in a 4-way in my 4th match of the day, and
In a day.
4 matches.
4 matches. So old style King of the Ring,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, so first match was a
Or
scramble.
like that WrestleMania tournament. What was that? 4? WrestleMania 4?
Yeah.
You would wrestle 4 matches. Macho Man did.
Yeah.
In order to get the championship.
Well, technically, the first match was done at another promotion, not related to this tournament. But
yeah,
I did that.
but you wrestle 4 matches in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody does that
Yeah,
anymore.
because I'm a psychopath.
Yeah, okay.
and-
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah, so
you're crazy.
Yeah, so
With a broken window.
with a broken window, I made sure I still made it to the shows.
And you still put in your best.
I did.
Do you feel like that motivated you more?
Because
Because sometimes things like that happen, and it brings out the best in people. You always hear like Michael Jordan had the flu in the NBA Finals, and he had his best game of his life because he overcame that. Or Brett Favre's dad died, and he came out of Monday Night Football, and instead of missing the game, he ended up playing and having his best game. So sometimes when there's a little extra adversity, the true athletes and stars, they just have something in them where they can give that much more than maybe you wouldn't have had bad things not happen to you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like when
Are you happy with all the matches that you wrestled?
I mean, obviously things got worse Friday when my car was broken into, but from Wednesday on, every single match, I'm my own biggest critic, and there's little things that I would probably nitpick that occurred in a couple of the matches, but in general, I was really happy with the standard of all the matches, and every dude that I mentioned deserves credit for what they contributed to the matches and taking care of me, because I mean I'm beat up today, but considering that I've wrestled 7 matches, since Wednesday. I should be in a lot worse shape. So
let me tell everybody here that this is Monday.
yeah,
Okay, so
as we're recording.
yeah, so we're less than a week, right? We're within a week that you wrestled all these matches.
Yep.
And now you're here recording this with me in Ohio.
Yep.
You were in Chicago?
Dayton, and then I went back home because the show got canceled. Then I went
Cleveland.
to Chicago,
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yep, and then Hamilton, Ontario.
So you were in another country, too.
Yep.
Now, how did you get there? Was that by ferry? Or
Well, I drove the car with a broken window. Some people would have you believe that you could only get to Canada via boat.
Yeah, that's a inside joke that 3 people will get that probably don't listen to this podcast.
A mutual acquaintance of Aaron and I, when he found out that I wrestle in Canada, he said, "What and this is how he talks. He said
He's gonna listen to this.
He said, did you go there by a boat? By a boat?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Did you take a boat to Canada? That's the only way you can get there."
You can only get there by boat or ferry, from what I understand.
And I was like, "Are you shitting me right now? Like, what?" I drove my car over the border. So, yeah, that's a real thing. All right. What'd you do this week?
So, oh, man. Let me tell you my bookings. So, Thursday, you were talking about Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about Thursday. Thursday, I was booked to go watch my 13-year-old son play middle school football at the local football stadium, where they kind of got trounced 50-0. But while that was happening, I was also booked to take my 2 younger sons. So that was Xavier that plays football, and then Micah and Colton, I was booked to take them to their hip-hop dance class recital.
Oh.
So, yeah, there was that, too. Everybody excelled those days.
Good.
And then on where are we at now? What's that take us up to? Gosh, all these bookings. Okay, so where we're at on Friday now. Friday, I was booked to. I was vacuuming the house, and then because I own a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an adult,
Wow.
and so I did those things.
Wow.
And then on Saturday, I was booked to go visit a train museum with a client I have.
Oh.
And went out to Nelsonville, Ohio, and we looked at some trains. And then ate breakfast at a nice little coffee shop called Gilbert's.
Okay.
And the owner there, she had an accent, and I says to her, "Are you from Scotland?" And she says, "Yes. How do you know?" I'm not gonna do a Scottish accent because that's insulting to people. And she says, "Yeah. How do you know?" And I says to the woman, "I know Nikki Cross."
That's so cool.
Worked with her about 5 times in AIW. I directed and produced some promos that she did.
So naturally, this woman did not know Nikki Cross because not all Scottish people know each other. You fucking moron!
She goes, "Oh, here's your bagel."
Yeah, she just skipped the subject.
And your banana walnut coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So I was, major busy.
Are you sore?
Busy.
You sore from all that?
Real sore. Sore.
Man.
I'm not on the road as much as you.
I can tell.
But I'm here.
I'm glad you're here.
Nip High football rules.
All right. Well, speaking of being on the road, I'll be back on the road this weekend. I got a couple shows coming up.
You mean like 5 days?
No, I don't have 5 days.
No. I mean like in 5 days.
Oh, well.
Like today's Monday, so Monday, Tuesday,
Well, this
Wednesday,
is Monday.
Thursday.
This is recording. This is landing on Wednesday. So
Right.
I mean, technically, this is going to be 3 days on a Saturday.
Wow. Where are you at?
Saturday, September 28th. I'm going to be at Empire State Wrestling.
Okay.
I'm going to be wrestling a man by the name of RJ City
Oh.
in a death match.
Oh.
But I don't know if it's going to turn out to be your typical death match. We've been doing a very interesting storyline that
I've been following.
I'm sure we'll be delving into at some point on this podcast. But if you follow me on social media, you know that
this is what I'd classify as maybe feud of the year.
Well, that's what we were trying for. We didn't want to be in a feud because we were tag team partners, but we have no choice because
you have to because you lost several matches, right?
We had some miscommunications. Yeah. Pro Wrestling Logic dictates that we have to feud with each other. So now this is all going to culminate in a death match this Saturday, September 28th, at the St. Johnsburg Fire Hall. Tickets are $15 if you're in the
They're only $15.
Buffalo, New York area. $15 for general admission.
What?
And doors open at 5. Bell time is 6. So come on.
Wait, doors open at 5?
5.
Wow.
5 o'clock. Yeah, it's a little bit of an early show.
I like that. I like that.
And then an even earlier show.
So let me get home by midnight then.
Okay. Earlier show on Sunday that I have I'm back in Hamilton, Ontario, for Alpha One Wrestling, September 29th. This Sunday, it's going to be at the, hope I'm saying it right, Courtice Flea Market.
Oh, the Courtice Flea Market. Yes, I've been there many a time.
It's French Canadian.
Right.
12:30 p.m. bell time, and if you're in the Hamilton area, this show is actually free. And Alpha One offers the best wrestling in Canada, bar none. So
the best wrestling in Canada is for free.
Well, this particular show is free at the Courtice.
Alpha One, is this the promotion that you worked for?
This past Sunday.
Yeah.
Won the King of Hearts tournament.
Yeah. Yep. So you're the King of Hearts.
I'm the King of Hearts, and so you can come see me for absolutely free this Sunday if you are in the Hamilton area. And that's about it. And so now I guess it's time to talk about today's guest, Johnny Gargano, your friend and mine, the whole shebang.
I don't know if he's my friend. He's not my friend on Facebook. Look, let me just put this out there. And Johnny, I'm sure you're going to listen to this, or maybe you're going to fast forward through this part.
He's definitely not going to listen.
He's not going to listen. Yeah, because, but look, I sent a friend request. It's been a year. Bring it, okay? Candice accepted my friend request. Wow. Johnny, not accepted. I don't know if it's because that time we went through a table together. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's a callback to that time that we wrestled in the prison.
I know Johnny likes you because when PWO was starting and we were formulating a roster, he was the one that initially started bringing you up.
I never heard this story before.
It's a true story. We wanted someone that would manage a guy by the name of Chris Cronus. We wanted him to be like a Brock Lesnar type on Pro Wrestling Ohio, which aired on Sports Time Ohio, which we'll talk a little bit about in the interview today. And we needed a Paul Heyman type. And so you were the guy that came to mind. So Johnny.
I always thought it was Josh Prohibition.
Nope. It was Johnny.
It was Johnny, huh?
Johnny, it was a collective of both of us. But I think Johnny might have suggested in the first place because you managed him at Hybrid. You have a little bit of a history with Johnny. You managed him against, in fact, the first interaction between Johnny Gargano and AJ Styles, which occurred in about 2007. You were the manager at ringside.
Yeah, I barely remember that. I do remember the build-up to it, though. I remember the build-up, and Hybrid always had terrible microphones.
Yeah.
And the acoustics were bad, so nobody could hear anything. So I knew I was set to announce Johnny versus AJ for the next month.
Okay.
So I thought, you know what's going to suck? When nobody hears it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's supposed to be a big, huge moment for this company, for Johnny.
Right.
To a smaller extent to me. So I don't know. What are we going to do? So I grabbed several pieces of poster board.
Okay.
And I had some young guys in the back. Right. The date for the next shows was November 4th. And then I would throw that piece of cardboard away, or that piece of poster board away. And the next one said, Johnny Gargano. And I threw that one away. And the next one said, Versus. And I threw that one away. And the last one was AJ Styles. Yeah. So everybody saw it, even if they couldn't hear me. I pretended that the microphone broke, and like they couldn't hear me at all.
Yeah.
So I just happened to have these poster boards ready.
Yeah.
And that was the way to do it. It was good stuff.
That's awesome.
And then the match actually happened, and I remember AJ telling me about all this stuff he wanted to say about me in his promo. He wanted to totally, downgrade me, and not maybe in a bad way, but he wasn't going to downgrade Johnny because he was going to wrestle Johnny. So he wanted to put Johnny over. But if you're going to talk bad about somebody, talk bad about the manager.
Right.
And that was me. So he had all this stuff he wanted to say. And we got to the ring, and AJ's got the mic, and he just says, "Hey, Aaron, you look like you could be one of those goblins in the Wizard of Oz."
Okay.
And I looked at him, and I was like, "A goblin in the Wizard of Oz?" And I went, "Oh, you're saying I'm a munchkin?" Because I tried to save it, but
Yeah.
AJ, not maybe the most polished or best or concentrated the most on promos back then. Right now, he's great.
He's on
I
fire.
love him in WWE. I love what he's doing. I love how he talks now.
Yeah.
He can do his thing. Back then, he couldn't.
Yeah.
But, and they had a great match, and it was great for Johnny to be working with AJ. And I think Johnny had maybe just come off of his initial SmackDown.
Yeah, it was right around that
Yeah.
time, which we'll
He
actually
was,
delve into in the podcast.
Cedric Van Schlossenberger or something?
Cedric Van Housen. I think.
Van Housen, yes.
Yeah. So basically, so this first episode, the interview with Johnny, was recorded on August 14th, Johnny's birthday. Technically, August 13th going into August 14th. We recorded at about 11 o'clock at night because that's the type of friend I am. I want him to podcast going into his birthday.
He's getting ready to go to bed.
Yeah. And so
hold on, let me brush my teeth. And
yeah.
then-
And so that kind of sets the tone for what to expect. We have a close friendship. I consider us to be, basically like brothers. And he was willing to do the podcast with me when he wanted to actually be sleeping. And wasn't as polished. We didn't even have the official name when we were doing the podcast, Iron on Wrestling. Yeah, we did an interview. We go for about an hour. And
Aaron on Wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. My apologies. We go for about an hour, and there's some interesting stuff that I guarantee you haven't heard on other podcasts that I got to pull out with Johnny because I know him probably better than anyone, except for Candice, who's, I assume, seen him naked on many occasions, so she probably knows a little bit more.
Are you sure about that?
I mean, I sure hope so.
Were you in the room?
I was
Has
not.
she told you things? Can you? Is there anything you know?
I feel like we
talk
should
about
just,
it right now.
We should just go to the interview. Before we get to the interview with Johnny Gargano, I've got a question for all you pro wrestling fans out there. Are you looking for hard-hitting wrestling journalism that is every bit as trustworthy and fact-based as professional wrestling itself? Well, then you need to check out kayfabenews.com. Kayfabe News is unreal news about an unreal sport. It's the world's premier wrestling news site. Well, kind of. I mean, it's more like The Onion, but entirely about pro wrestling. I mean, you've surely seen some of the headlines. Hogan tells brother something. Cena visits injured self in hospital. Or, of course, Lashley brashly lashes back at Backlash as a mismatch of trashy squash matches. They've even written a story about yours truly defeating Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship at an indie show in Cleveland. And I gotta say, it's probably gonna come true someday. But enough about me. I strongly encourage you to check out and read all of the stories over on kayfabenews.com. And you have to see their hilarious new YouTube show, which drops every Tuesday at youtube.com/kayfabenews. Oh, and you know I'm a t-shirt guy. I've got a bunch of shirts that I got right from Kayfabe News that I wear all the time, and you can get yours at prowrestlingtees.com/Kayfabe News. Kayfabe News. Remember, it's not fake news. It's unreal. All right, I am sitting here with the whole shebang, the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas. What other nicknames you got?
Way too many.
Way too many. Johnny Wrestling.
Yeah, Johnny Wrestling. You can put Johnny in front of anything, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my nickname. Yeah, she's got Johnny birthday on those cookies she's making over there. 'Cause
That's it. That's
It is
Candice.
legitimately my birthday in about an hour.
In about an hour. 59 minutes.
Yep.
And you are
It's
spending it
my birthday. Spending it doing this podcast.
doing a podcast that
We invited you to our house to spend the week or 3 days
3
to
days.
celebrate my birthday, and you said, "Hey, it is way past your bedtime.
Yep.
Because what is it? It's 11 now. Normally, I'm in bed by now. I have just finished watching SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
I am watching Ms. and Mrs., a fantastic show, which I enjoy.
Your favorite show right now, right?
It's a great show.
Yeah.
I love it. Shout out to the Miz. Good guy.
Cleveland boy.
Yep. He's one of us. I'm asleep by 10:30. Ms. and Mrs. ends. Put on some Parks and Rec. Let that run on Hulu basically all night. And yeah, but no, instead we invited you to our house to celebrate my birthday, and you said, hey, I bought this very expensive podcast equipment and camera, and we're going to talk about nothing for about an hour.
People love Johnny Gargano. They want to get
They
inside the brain of Johnny Wrestling.
This
and
is
I figure, what better
Welcome.
platform than this podcast that doesn't even have a name yet? I don't even know the name of this thing. There might be a name by the time this gets edited, but I don't know what it is.
It's obviously sponsored by Rockstar Recovery with this camera placement you're doing.
I'm hoping so. You know, it's a very precise product placement
Yes.
there. I do love my Rockstar Recoveries. They it's non-carbonated, so it just goes down like water.
I was of a different drink out of the shot for some strange reason that is not a sponsor apparently from GNC. I don't know why you have two energy drinks on the table that are.
This is a finished energy drink. It's
And
a,
before we went on
lit.
air, he asked me if I wanted something to drink.
at your house.
It's my house. If I wanted something to drink, I'd probably go grab it.
I mean, I just don't want you getting up and having to move around, and I appreciate you doing this for
You
me.
can hear Candice in the background, hard at work.
You might not be able to hear it. See, I don't know. So I have these. So this
Has no idea how to use this equipment.
this piece of technology is very much new to me. It's something that I acquired a week ago from an investor. Let's say that I didn't pay for this myself. I got it from an investor. I did not
sounds
steal it.
shady.
Candice is accusing me of theft.
Sounds shady.
It does sound shady, but I was very very intimidated by this piece of equipment. But the microphones that sit right here
Yep.
in the middle aren't on. Only the microphones that we're using. So we shouldn't be able to be picking up very much sound, but we'll find out in post.
Yeah, we're gonna find out in post when this what. We don't think. Who knows?
I don't know. We'll find out after.
But yeah, she's hard at work making something for my birthday. She's making a lot of things. I don't know. Yeah.
You're going to be 31 years old.
No, I will not. I will actually be 32 years old.
32
So you're a
years
great
old.
friend. Thank you for
What?
knowing how old I am.
I'm supposed to be your best friend.
Yeah.
And I did
And you
not
don't even know
that.
how old I am.
I
32.
you know, time is passing us by. And also, you know, I have cerebral palsy. That's technically brain damage.
Yeah,
So sometimes these things slip my mind. you
8
know?
more years and I'm 40.
Yeah.
So,
Are
yeah.
you counting down to that already?
I mean, I'm almost there.
Aren't you enjoying life right now? Aren't you in the best place you've ever been in your life currently?
Candice is hard at work because I told her that Triple H got a drone party from Stephanie for his birthday, so she has to try to top the drones.
Every year of my life.
So what is the drone party going to look like for you?
I don't know. It's a surprise. We'll see tomorrow.
What would you imagine in the sky if you were to have a drone party?
I don't know. Jeremy Borash has to. We got one drone, I guess. So I guess one drone's gonna be flying that we know of.
Jesus.
But yeah, I don't know what my drone birthday party would be. She's making a bunch of stuff over here. She's baking. Again, it is 11 p.m. So
Yeah.
it's very late at night.
Very late at night. We're going to try to carry this podcast into your birthday.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we're going to do it that way. It's
Yeah,
going to be
great.
exciting.
At 12:01.
All right.
We're just gonna.
All right. So my idea with having you on this podcast, I guess the first interview on this podcast, and I'm doing that, again, doesn't have a name. And if you come up with something during the course of this, that would be great.
Pajama party. Pajama party
Go ahead.
starring Macaulay Culkin and.
Am I Macaulay Culkin?
No, I guess you just.
I
didn't.
can't be Macaulay. I mean, I was told as a child often that I look like Macaulay Culkin.
I know this.
Still get it occasionally.
Yep.
Point of all this is, though, so you do a lot of professional wrestling interviews nowadays.
I do a lot.
WWE NXT, you're arguably the biggest star in NXT history. You were
Yeah.
the first ever Triple Crown
Yep.
NXT champion.
Did your
winning-
homework. Congratulations
I'm
for
not,
this interview.
You know, I have a
He
notebook
has a
sitting right
notebook
here.
sitting next to him that he's reading stuff off of.
I'm not. That's not on the notebook. I know that.
You know that. You should. You were there.
I was there. I
Yeah.
watched you capture the NXT championship.
Yes.
You also captured the tag team championship
Yes,
and the North
North
American
American Championship,
championship.
yep.
So
Which you can see in the case over there. There's no
Yes,
American title in the
you
case.
can see that in the
I
background if you're
think,
watching
on
the
camera.
video version of
Yes.
this. But what I wanted to talk about is not necessarily current WWE Johnny Gargano. I wanted to talk
Okay.
about some older stuff. Go back to your roots. Being your closest friend,
Yes.
I've watched you come up through the ranks of independent professional wrestling. So I kind of wanted to talk about you coming up and talk about your time on the independents and relive some memories that way. Is that cool?
Sure.
Let's
No.
do
What if
that.
I said no?
What if
would
well
happen?
then,
Nothing
well then
good
all right. Well, thanks for joining me, Johnny. And now it's time to go. So yeah, let's do it that way. So, all right, what are your first memories of professional wrestling?
I think my first memories of professional wrestling was my next door neighbor Eddie. You've met Eddie.
Uno Pac.
Yeah, Uno Pac. He introduced me to wrestling, and he introduced me to WCW at first. And I watched WCW, and I saw the cruiserweights, and I was like, "Oh, these guys are great." And then he showed me. We watched WWF, and I saw Shawn Michaels. And as you know, that's not going to be an ongoing theme of all of my wrestling
Sure.
stories. I saw Shawn Michaels, and I saw his charisma, his athleticism, and I immediately fell in love with him. Yes, as a performer and as a man.
Okay.
That's what you said.
Wow.
My wife said that, by the way.
Yes.
But it's true. He's a good guy. So
Do you remember
yeah.
your first specific memory of wrestling? Like, do you remember the first match or like the first angle or program that sticks out in your mind?
no, I don't. I just remember it was a WCW show, and for some reason I think it was Saturday, but I don't think it was like WCW Saturday night. So it's weird.
Okay.
So that's all jumbled up in my head. But like the first memory I have is of Shawn Michaels, not a particular thing. Obviously, the most prominent feud of my childhood was Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. The Iron Man match is always a match I point to as the kind of the whole boyhood dream story. That's the whole that made me, I guess, the person I am today.
Yeah.
And I paid homage to that at TakeOver New York when I had Iron Man gear, but I also had the same kind of fabric that Shawn Michaels wore at WrestleMania 12 in his Iron Man match. So that was my little homage to that, my little boyhood dream nod with my fairy tale ending, I guess, of my the Gargano fairy tale arc that I had. And it's pretty crazy to me that I mentioned that and I mentioned the boyhood dream, and people come up to me now and say hey, when you won the title at TakeOver New York, my kid saw that, and that was that's their boyhood dream moment, which is bonkers to me because it just doesn't seem real, but it is. So I guess it's crazy though.
Yeah, and your mom really fed into your whole Shawn Michaels and WWF obsession.
Yep.
I mean, she painted Shawn Michaels on your wall, which I stared at for a number of years along with you. We'd sit on the computer and doing whatever, and there was Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
Your mom's an incredible artist. But she also was great at making costumes. And I think a lot of people have heard the story of you dressing up as Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
But, we've had a lot of discussions where I don't know if you've talked about this, she made you several other costumes
Yes.
over the years of other wrestlers. Can you name some of the wrestlers that she made costumes for?
So I had a Stone Cold vest-ish.
Okay.
I had a Bret Hart jacket-ish. I had a really obscure one. I had a Rocky Maivia, that headdress thing with the streamers on it. My mom made that.
That surprises me, but that is true because you busted it out. We found it.
I did.
One day,
We have it, yeah.
Back in the day. Now, but the most obscure one, the most random costume, I'm waiting for you to say it, and if you don't, I will.
Now I'm trying to think what you're referencing.
Dean Malenko.
Oh yeah. I mean,
You were a
that was
big-
that was just a vest though. Really.
But
That was a-
still,
I mean, that
like-
could have been anyone.
But what I'm saying,
I
though-
did used to pretend to be Dean Malenko and walk around and crack my knuckles and stuff.
So I mean, I don't feel like a lot of the kids. I mean, I'm sure Dean Malenko had a lot of fans and one of the greatest of all time.
Had a
Man of
sweet
1,000
theme song,
Holes.
too.
Great theme song.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine a lot of kids walking around pretending to be Dean Malenko
Hey.
in the height of the Monday Night War and the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
But that was you.
I appreciated the little workhorses. I appreciated the Chris Jerichos. Like I said, the WCW Cruiserweights really stuck out to me, and Dean Malenko, of course, was one of them. And but yeah, I was weird in the sense where I liked the guys who could go in the ring, as opposed to I know you were a very big Hogan guy, and
Yeah.
you lean more towards that type of wrestler.
Well, I liked basically up until about the NWO started. I liked anyone that the WWF or WCW told me to like.
Yeah,
and
you're-
even when I found out wrestling was fake, I guess, fake, the worst word possible. But when I found out it was fake, there was never a moment where I was like, I have to stop watching wrestling. And I still sort of still bought into the good guy, bad guy theme. And so I just went behind whoever the company told me to. But I do remember specifically, and I think I told you this, when Hogan joined the NWO, I watched it at some kid's house. Knowing wrestling was fake, I sat there and at the table after the pay-per-view went down, he dropped the leg on Macho Man 3 times, and the NWO was formed. I sat there at the table with this kid in disbelief, and I said, you know, I'm just glad that my grandma wasn't around to see Hulk Hogan act that way. And it was like a real feeling. You know, my grandma had passed away. She was the one that got me into wrestling, and to this day, I don't understand the mindset of like,
Candice is livid over this Hulk Hogan
she's
heel turn.
very upset. I
She's
knew
slamming
wrestling was
stuff in the
predetermined.
background.
I knew wrestling was predetermined, but I was still very upset that he could turn his back on all the little Hulkamaniacs.
Yeah,
So
he turned
but
his back on you,
he did-
specifically.
Specifically me.
Yeah,
I think he said in that
specifically.
promo,
Yeah.
little
Craig. Yeah,
Craig.
yeah,
That's what he
Little
would
Craig.
say. What?
Yeah.
Why would he call me Little Craig?
I'm trying to remember the bit that I had with that. So I just know I always used to say that he would call you Craig, Little Craig. For
So
some
the,
reason.
so the bit is that me and Johnny had was because Hulk Hogan's my favorite wrestler. We
Yep.
would sometimes talk about what would happen if we met our respective favorite wrestlers. So him, Shawn Michaels, and me, Hulk Hogan. Johnny always would say that Hulk would get my name incorrect.
Yep.
Even after I would introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Greg," he'd
Yeah.
say, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
Little Craig."
Little Craig.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's.
And you did meet Hulk Hogan.
I did meet him.
I'm not because of me, but with the help of me.
Yeah.
Driving you to Hulk Hogan's beach shack or beach.
That's the beach. Hulk Hogan's beach shop,
Yeah, same thing.
not the
A
beach
shack or shop, it's the same thing.
beach shop.
Yeah, taking you. I drove you there in the
You did.
pouring rain.
Pouring rain.
On I-Drive, which is super busy.
Yep.
If you're in Orlando, that's a shout out for the Orlando people, I guess. They will understand that reference.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Drove you there, pouring rain, sat out in the car,
Yep.
and waited for you to go. Waited in this huge line.
Yep.
With all these other Hulkamaniacs.
Yep.
Waiting to meet the Hulkster.
Well, so I came into town, and I was staying with you guys for a couple days. You
There's an
and
ongoing
Candace.
theme here. Whenever Greg comes into town, it's like it's for the beneficial gain
That
of
is
Greg.
not true. That's not true. It was coincidental. You asked me what I wanted to do when I was in town. I said I'd probably want to go to Hogan's Beach
Yep.
Shop, and then I looked up on the website, and it just so happened that Hogan was going to be there
Yep.
the same weekend that I was going to be here. So and look, I've been in wrestling a long time now, and I don't really I don't pay to meet wrestlers, but I thought to myself, Hulk Hogan's getting pretty old. He could
Yeah.
probably leave us any day.
He's gonna live forever.
You know, Hulkster in heaven.
He lives forever. That's
And
what he said.
well, Hulkamania will live forever.
Yeah, he is Hulkamania.
So he's not Hulkamania.
He is Hulkamania.
He's the creator of Hulkamania.
He's the Hulkamania. I mean, Vince McMahon's really the creator of Hulkamania. If we want to be, we want to get in depth
Well,
here.
I mean, we're gonna go real deep. I mean, Hulkamania existed before he was in the WWF.
That is true. So, but Vince McMahon made it what it was. But neither here nor there.
Okay,
He's
but-
He, the man himself,
Okay.
is immortal and will live forever.
So I thought this might be my only chance to meet him. So I paid I believe it was $100 to stand in line and meet Hulk Hogan, and you kind of facilitated that situation. I
Yes.
tried to say, hey, you could.
I could have met
come-
him.
you come
I
meet
instead
him too.
tweeted at him, and he liked it and tweeted back at me.
I cannot.
But
I
Greg
cannot
cannot
tweet him.
tweet at Hulk Hogan. Why is that?
Hulk Hogan, my favorite wrestler
Yep.
of all time, blocked me on Twitter.
Yep.
I remember the day specifically.
I
Not
saw
the-
my
not the
favorite
date.
wrestler today. I saw him at the Performance Center. We talked. We had a personal conversation.
Yeah.
I could text him right now if I'd like. Your favorite wrestler, he blocked you. Yeah, he's asleep.
We are
But
we're still Instagram talking, me and Hulks.
wait, you've talked to him?
I mean, I could talk to him if I want to. I mean, he could reply. I mean, he hasn't. But,
Just because you
know,
follow him on Instagram doesn't mean you're talking on Instagram.
I mean, we're
That's like your Allison Brie theory, where if you keep liking every single one of her pictures.
I think that it could happen.
Yeah, I don't
mean,
think it's gonna happen, man.
I'm a big fan of Allison Brie and Glow.
Yeah,
And
shout out to Allison Brie.
earlier today in the
Sure,
car,
she's watching this.
she's
and
not
listening to this.
She might
on an
be. I mean,
airplane
if
right now.
I've liked all of her photos at this point.
Yep.
But I asked Candice and Johnny.
Can't even remember. No, doesn't even know her name on Community or anything like that. So she's a huge fan.
I am a big fan of her on Glow.
The Lego movie and like
Oh yeah, she was also in Lego Movie and Lego Movie 2.
I like the Lego Movie.
What's her name? Who she play?
Legosaurus. Legogami. Point is, we were talking in the car earlier, and I said, if I like all of her photos, maybe she'll fall in love with me.
And that's how. I mean, if I've learned anything from the internet, I mean that's normally how internet relationships work. You just like every single one of their photos. You start commenting on it, sure.
Yeah.
Comment on it, like
I'm going
it.
to give it a shot.
Yep. Follow her and unfollow her a bunch.
We're really getting off track here. The point of all this is that you were drawn to Shawn Michaels, and I was
Yes.
drawn to a guy like Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
I'm in love with Allison Brie.
Yep.
I met Hulk Hogan, and it was a great experience. He was great to me. We talked for like 5 minutes. I got to tell him how he inspired me. But you get to interact with Shawn Michaels every day, and I'm
Yes.
sure that's got to be the most surreal thing for you.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's wild. It's like I said, every day is kind of feels like it's almost not real, and it's kind of a dream come true. Like you said, he was painted on my wall.
Yeah.
I dressed like him every day growing up, and like I've done numerous interviews, and I've spoken very publicly about how big of an influence Shawn Michaels was on me, and pretty much my whole generation, honestly. All of us at the Performance Center, like Shawn Michaels is the guy. I mean, I think if you're in wrestling, especially if you're an undersized guy, like Shawn Michaels is kind of he's a prototype. He's what you aspire to be, because he kind of he really did kind of break that glass ceiling for a lot of us smaller guys, to where like we saw him do it, and he kind of showed the world that if you work really, really hard, and you keep grinding, man. And that's kind of his message too. Just keep grinding, keep working hard, and just go out there and do you, and steal the show if you can.
Yeah.
That's what we all do.
Now, two guys that I don't know if they had influence by Shawn Michaels, and this is a name a lot of people aren't going to know about, but we're gonna let the people know about them. Do you think that G-Mo and Psycho Mike were at all
boy.
inspired by Shawn Michaels at all?
I mean, I think if you've gotten into wrestling, you probably were inspired by Shawn Michaels at some point.
Sure.
But I do not know if the Theater of Pain were inspired by
The
Shawn
Theater
Michaels.
of Pain. Now, tell the audience
They are the only undefeated tag team in professional wrestling history.
ever.
Ever.
At what age did you meet G-Mo and Psycho Mike?
Uh,
And would you say that they technically got you into professional wrestling?
I would not say they got me into professional wrestling.
In the actual business, though. I mean, you stepped in the ring for the first time on one of their shows. Did you or did you not? Cleveland Wrestling Alliance.
I did. That's because my dad knew I was a huge wrestling fan. So the local independent company came up to my dad and said, hey, like, can we run a show in your back parking lot? And he said, as long as my kid can get in the ring. And yeah, so I was 8 years old, and I got to get in the ring before the show. And I guess that shows you how, professional this company was.
The Athletic Commission in Ohio is kind of a joke.
It is, but I do remember particularly my mom made me, of course, a wrestling outfit. And my name was Jag, John Anthony Gargano, for those that do not know. And I had my friend who I used to wrestle with, I guess. His name was Punk, before the other one.
Mm-hmm.
No, probably not. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? He might have been the OG.
I mean, Punk's not exactly the most
Dub Punk.
creative
I think it
name.
might have been Dub Punk. I don't know what he was.
Kind of like, Psycho or
But he had like
Twisted.
a Phantom of the Opera mask though, so I didn't
Okay.
really know what he was going for. My character was way more defined. Jag was a way more defined character, I think.
How so?
Yeah, I mean, Italian Stallion Jag. You
Uh-huh.
know what you're getting when you see him.
What exactly were
He's
they
coming
getting?
at you. He's
What was the character?
Fueled by cheese ravioli and pizza.
Tahitian treat.
Yep,
Your
he's
favorite
fueled.
drink at the time?
He's ready to rip.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I guess the show was running late or something. I don't really know. So they needed a pre-show match.
Okay.
So they said, "Hey, little 8-year-old Johnny Gargano and your friend, get out there and put a match on." Never been trained.
Sure.
Never stepped in a ring before. But we got out there and we freaking electrified those people.
Did you?
They were on their feet.
What kind of moves did you hit in this? And
I
this is your
hit-
debut match.
Debut match.
Big moment.
Yeah. I mean, you name it, I probably hit it. But I probably invented some stuff along the way. But,
Okay. So you're wrestling for the CWA as an 8-year-old child.
Yes.
How many matches do you think you had for the CWA before you became, I guess, technically a pro?
I didn't. Trying to remember now. I mean, I got in the ring a few times. Me and Punk had quite the trilogy of matches. behind my dad's catering company. Basically, if there was a Halloween show, I think later on in the year, like I think that show was in like August.
A Halloween show in August?
And no, that show was in August.
Okay,
And the second show after that was in October.
Okay.
And I was really bummed out because it rained that day, so I was really afraid the show was going to get rained out because obviously it's in a back parking lot.
Sure.
But I wrestled Punk again, and I put him in a figure 4 and broke his leg. For real.
For real,
because I was not trained. I was 8 years old. Come on. I'm
Wow.
also dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Look, you mess with Jag, you get the horns.
You had a lot of calzones that day.
No, I didn't eat calzones. I said cheese ravioli.
All right.
Pizza.
Pizza for
Tahitian
sure.
treat.
Yep.
But yeah, so I broke his leg. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how many matches I actually had in the CWA. I know we had those two, and then like we traveled to Norwalk because it was a hot act. So
Wow. So that's like a 30-minute drive for
it was a hot act. It felt like the longest drive
I'm
that
sure.
I've ever had. Brought my gear,
Yeah.
changed. Me and my mom used to go to the thrift store to get like women's spandex that I would wear.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the people just, Ohio just wanted them some Jag and Punk. I mean that's just
Absolutely.
they needed it.
It's kind of like the CM
Yeah.
Punk Chris Hero years later.
Yeah, but I was 8.
Yeah. You
And
really paved the way for
I was hitting
that.
hit the Jagged Rock.
That's a good name.
Yep, Jagged Rock, Jagplex.
Okay. Solid.
There was a Jaggitude adjustment later on. I mean, it got kind of out of hand.
Before the attitude adjustment?
Yeah, Jaggitude adjustment.
Wow.
I think it was based off. I think it was kind of a play off Matt Hardy when he started doing the V1 thing.
Okay, that would make sense because that would have been 2003.
Yeah, so that was a little later when I started training and stuff. But
Okay.
Jag was still going
All right,
strong.
so 2003 you're training. So you're about like 14 or 15 at
Yeah.
that point?
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that process look like? So when you start technically training, you're not training with G-Mo and Psycho Mike,
No,
right? You're
I
training
train
with
with JT.
JT Lightning.
Yes.
So JT Lightning, for those that don't know, is sort of a Cleveland legend as far as training professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
He started running a promotion, I believe, in around 1992, Cleveland All Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
And he got around a little bit the Midwest. I think he did parts of Canada. And basically he trained you. He trained me to start. Josh Prohibition, M-Dog, Matt Cross, a ton of other talented individuals that came through Cleveland over the years. So what does the process look like from you going from child wrestling for G-Mo and Psycho Mike to actually interacting with JT, and now you're training with him?
I also remember I before that I also remember that there was a CBA show where like it was a big cage match, and they grabbed me out of the audience and pulled me to the locker room and painted my face and had me do their entrance with them.
Okay.
And I just remember when they grabbed me out of the audience to take me to the locker room to paint my face again. I was 8 years old at the time. All I could think was I don't want to do this. So it was kind of against my will. I was too shy to say no.
Yeah.
Because I was, I guess, a socially awkward kid, and then these adult men were like, "Oh, come on and do your entrance with me," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And even then, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do this." But of course, I did it, and then as soon as I did one lap around the ring and went right back to my parents, like right back to my dad, because I was like, "Okay."
Just very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, super uncomfortable.
Okay.
Didn't want any attention on me in that setting.
Yep.
But JT actually did do shows for CWA as well. So I met JT when I was like 8 years old. I used to play with JT's kids.
Okay.
And that's how I kind of met JT. And then when I was like 14, 15, I started training with JT and then doing that in Turner's Hall. So
What does the process look like when you're training with JT? I mean, like
I used to show up after classes, so I would kind of get one-on-one sessions with JT as opposed to like training with the rest of the class, because obviously like everyone was like kind of grown men.
Sure.
And I was 14, 15 years old, so I wasn't going to train with them. So it was just kind of be me and JT and Wally and Josh Prohibition, and he came in every now and then, and like I'd just kind of be doing it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that was until I was about 17 when I actually started having my first match. Yeah.
And then you had your first pro match behind Gargano's
Yep.
Catering,
Comes full circle.
tables match.
It wasn't a tables match.
It ended with table.
It ended with a table
finish.
bump. It
Okay,
ended with
so
a table bump.
What a
yeah.
way to finish your first match,
First
right?
match.
First official match. Now, that particular show,
Yes.
former WCW superstar Buff Bagwell
Yes.
was present, And can you tell me about that experience with Buff Bagwell?
Yeah, I think I said this on the hype video for Takeover New York, where Buff Bagwell actually he was booked on the show, and I'm 100% sure he does not remember this. I mean, absolutely does 1,000 shows, I'm sure.
Yeah.
1,000 indie shows. But my dad asked him because he saw my first match. He's like, "Oh, that's my kid," and I was 17 years old. He's like, "Do you think he's got a shot at making it?" And he told my dad, "Absolutely not."
Which
I don't blame him. I mean, looking back at it, like looking back at me, I guess when I'm 17 years old, I mean, he was brutally honest. I mean, I guess if I was in any position, and I've been in these positions before where fans come up to me and they say, "I'm training," like I'm never gonna be like, "Well, I don't know why you're training, man. You're never gonna make it." Like
Right.
that's just such a mean thing to say to someone.
Yeah.
Especially like a parent of a kid. That's so mean.
Well, not only that, I'm sure he knew that your dad was sort of in control of the show. I mean,
Oh,
he
he
was
didn't
being
give a
run at
F.
his pizza shop, so you think he
Nah.
would have been even if he didn't think you were going to
Yeah,
make it, he
you'd
could
think.
have lied.
Yeah,
you
you'd
know,
think. I
would have been a
mean-
better business decision.
But nah, he didn't care. That's fine.
It's fine. So I'm sure it wasn't a malicious thing, but it was something that stood out to you. But so now a little bit of time passes. You're wrestling for Cleveland All Pro Wrestling on a regular basis. You're not doing many other promotions at this point, right? Like your first year, it's just Cleveland All Pro.
Yeah, first year's just Cleveland All Pro, and then I think IWC was my first real like out of state thing that I started doing. Like,
Okay.
I believe in my head.
But so before you start traveling a little bit, you're primarily doing CPW.
Yeah.
You get to wrestle within your first year guys like Nigel McGuiness,
Yep.
Alex Shelley,
Yep.
Chris Sabin, Josh Prohibition, Matt Cross, Zach Gowen, Christopher Daniels. What was that experience like that first year, just working with some of the most talented wrestlers in the world? I mean, I know you were becoming a big independent wrestling fan. You had been around it for so long. You were a big TNA fan at the time. So, like, what was that like working with some of those guys?
I mean, I don't think I'd be the wrestler I am today if it wasn't for working with those guys so early on in my career. Like, you kind of, I think you really learn on the fly when you're in the ring with someone. And I kind of just, like, I would be in the ring with them and I'd see how they carry themselves and how they put things together. And I kind of took that from them and I kind of just copied them. And I believe, like, that's really the best way to do it, is to kind of, like, copy and, like, take someone's outline or take someone's, like, the way they do things and kind of just do that until you find yourself out of that. Because I think if you just start doing all this random stuff, I was very lucky in the sense where I got to work with all the guys you mentioned, and I just kind of took their outline and put it towards my matches, and I kind of got better because of that. And then, like, I'd work with more guys, and I'd do that outline, but I'd also, like, add my own little flair on it. And I think, like I said, you kind of find yourself out of copying. It's almost like you become like your own thing when you do it that way. And I think for, like, I didn't find myself. I don't know, I've been wrestling for like 15 years now, I think. So I didn't find myself really until like 6-7 years in, I guess.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. It's a very long process.
And that sounds about right. And you were very lucky in the sense, because Alex Shelley was a guy that, you give a lot of credit to Shawn Michaels, but especially your early days. And, people close to you used to make fun of you a little bit for it. Like, you emulated Alex Shelley a lot. Like, was there something specific that, like, you picked up from him, working with him, that maybe you still carry to this day?
I just really appreciated his knowledge of all these different styles of wrestling, and, like, how he didn't just stick to one set thing. Like, he did lucha libre, he did like a Japanese influence, he did a British influence, he did all this different things, and I was really fond of tons of different styles of wrestling, and I just like the way he carried himself too. And it's super funny now because I developed a relationship with him as well, and he just texted me, and he just had a match in ROH, I believe.
Yeah, he's back in Ring of Honor.
I mean, the people that know that, like, he was the one who gave me the Border City Stretch, which became the Gargano Escape, which is the submission I use.
Yep.
Like, that was a big angle in DGUSA on the indies that I did, where he kind of handed it down to me. But now he talks about how, like, he did the Border City Stretch, and like people are like, oh, he's using the Gargano escape. So it's like such a weird dynamic now where like people know it as my move now, even though he was the one who did it first.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was just texting me recently about how funny that is that like people are seeing, like, I know Jay White does the shell shock.
Yeah.
And like people are like, he did Jay White's move into Johnny Gargano's move, but like people know that like he was the one that it.
Well,
did all
okay,
that
so
stuff first.
I was going to get to that later, but let's just talk about it now then. I don't know if you even realize it because you're not around anymore. I mean, you're in WWE, but now that you're not on the independents, I'm still doing the independents, obviously, and I'm in locker rooms. I'm not joking, literally almost every week, where in the background, as I'm calling my match, I hear a kid in the background who will say, "Oh, and then I'll hit you with the Gargano," and I turn around, and that could be any number of things. It could be
spear.
It could be the spear. It could be the roll through kick.
Yep.
It could be the slingshot DDT.
Yep.
I was wrestling a kid about a month ago, who basically called the Hertz Donut.
Yep.
And he was doing the Darren Young version where he wasn't having the guy post, because I just kind of played dumb. I'm like, oh, how do you want me to take that? He's like, oh, you just kind of spin through, right? And I said, well, what if I post off your hips? And he's like, I don't know. And I so we went out and I post off the hips, and I told him Gargano used to do that all the time. He's like, oh yeah, and the post off the hips helps. So it's like, what does it feel like for you? Because we talk about how you idolize Shawn Michaels, how you had so much influence from Alex Shelley. Is it strange to know that now in locker rooms all over the country, and you know, fans like look up to you immensely too? What's it like to know that you're having the same influence on current wrestlers that a Shawn Michaels or an Alex Shelley had on you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like none of this really seems real. I'm kind of aloof to a lot of things, so I see I see it on social media and I see things like that, but I'm not in the thick of it, so I don't really know my influence on different people. Like I said, I hope it's good. I don't know. I'm not in it like you are, so I don't really know, but I think it's pretty cool that people view me in that light. Like I think you've known me long enough now.
Yeah.
To where I'm not really like, I don't. And then Candice is this way too. I'm sure you are too. But like, I don't like my own stuff. Like I do, but I don't. Like it's weird. Like I'm a weird. Like I'll watch like I haven't watched. I mean, Takeover Toronto just happened, and I haven't watched the match yet. I've just seen some clips online. But like, I'm incredibly like, I don't know. I don't want to watch it out of fear of like. I just know I won't like it, so
You overanalyze things.
I overanalyze everything.
I mean,
it's just not just in wrestling. That's just everything in life.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. Like speaking for myself, I don't know how you feel. It's like I used to try to go back and watch my matches when I was younger to really see what I can improve on, and now I'm kind of in a place where like I'm very confident in what I do, but I don't want to go back and watch what I'm doing now and then overanalyze stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I don't want to go out of my way to watch my stuff now.
I just know like I'm gonna see something and I'm gonna feel like I left like an opportunity on the table.
Sure.
And I can't go back and change it.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna like think about it way too much.
Yeah.
And dwell on it and dwell on it and dwell on it. So like I just know that like to me it feels like I left money on the table. Like it feels like I could have done that and I didn't do that, so I screwed up. So I'm just gonna get really down on myself, and I'm like I don't want to get down on myself, so I'm just gonna avoid it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'll watch it eventually. But I always say I think like maybe when I'm 40 years old and I'm not wrestling anymore.
You think you're gonna be done in 8 years?
Yeah, I do.
No way.
No, I am.
I don't believe that.
I am.
Not at okay. You heard it here. We're gonna try to hold him to that. I
40
doubt
years
it.
old. I might be done at 35. You never know.
Okay.
What? That is true.
Candice is proclaiming in the background that there will be a baby by that point.
There will be. And
I have to have the one eventually.
She has to have one.
yeah, well,
She has to.
eventually.
I'm not getting any younger, so.
She's not getting any younger, Johnny.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm in a weird place now where I feel like I've done pretty much. I don't know. I feel like I've accomplished almost everything I wanted to accomplish. So,
Sure.
like, it's just a weird place where I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she still wants to do stuff, but yeah, it's just a weird thing. Like, once Takeover New York happened, I'm kind of like, okay, well, like all of my goals here, like I accomplished them all. So it's just like, I don't know where to go from here, but Yeah, maybe I'll be done at 35. Maybe I'll be done at 32. Maybe once midnight hits, I'm just gonna be like, I'm done.
So, I mean, so you've accomplished a lot in NXT.
Yes.
So are you saying you don't have any goals on Raw or SmackDown?
I mean, obviously, you grow up and you want to be on Raw and SmackDown,
Sure.
and you want to main event WrestleMania, and I still have that inside of me. I would still love to main event WrestleMania. Like, that's something that every little kid dreams of. But like, I do take an immense sense of pride in like what I've done in NXT, and like for me, like becoming NXT champion was always like the end game for me, and like I'm not just using a cool marble thing there, but it was always kind of like that was always what I was reaching for. That's always what I was working for. Just because of my story and what I went through to get there, and I kind of just wanted to just do it just to like show everyone like it can be done. And for me personally, like I don't like just being a cog in the wheel. Like I never have been okay just being like a person on a show, and like of course like that sounds weird because I don't want to. I'm not like I don't mean it in the sense where I don't want to help out or I don't want to contribute, but like I want what I do to be meaningful. I want what I do to mean something. I think that's just everyone in general, but yeah, I have a lot of big goals. I have a lot of big dreams, but for right now, like I have an immense sense of like accomplishment because I've done like I accomplished that big goal that I wanted, like becoming NXT champion and like becoming the first ever Triple Crown champion. That's awesome. And like I love NXT, so I mean obviously I want to try and take NXT to the next level and see what I can do with it and see where it can go because that's my baby, and it may be Triple H's real baby, but it's also my baby too. So
yeah,
I mean,
You can't have baby with me, but you can have babies with Triple H, I guess.
I adopted that baby more than anything.
Candice is insinuating that you'd rather have babies with Hunter as opposed to her. Is this true?
I mean, Hunter is a great father, so he's
Wow. It's getting wild.
But just think, when me and Candice do eventually have a baby, the wrestling prowess that it will be in that child will be just amazing.
But
Hopefully he does not get my athleticism. Hopefully he gets her athleticism in my
By the way.
mind, I guess.
Here's the thing, though. You have always touted how you want to have a big fat baby.
Yeah, he'd be sweet.
And so I've always said that that's probably going to lead to some sort of childhood obesity that maybe he can't grow out of. I mean, if he does have that athletic integrity instilled in him, I mean, how's that going to work out if you're giving him all this fatty food right off the bat? Just so
I
he
turned
can
out
laugh and have
good.
a fat baby.
I turned out good.
But not all chubby babies are going to turn out that way, especially if you're just pouring sugar into his body.
But he's gonna have. Yeah, she was a chubby baby. I'll attach a picture to this podcast of her pumpkin-headed baby.
Oh my god!
All 9 pounds, 4 ounces.
9 pounds 4 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah, we're shooting for 10.
Oh man. Okay.
Calling my shot right now.
Wow.
Gonna be a 10-pound baby.
Not birthing that from my vagina.
10-pound baby.
Okay.
Doing that naturally.
10-pound baby. Full head of hair. Full head of teeth. Fresh out the womb.
What do I
Carried to
even say?
term plus 8 months.
Okay. Let's get back on track here. So, you talked about how you have a hard time, I guess, for lack of a, better term here, phoning it in. You can't give anything less than 100% when you wrestle, and that was a
Yeah.
problem you had even back on the Indies, because there'd be some times when you'd be injured or hurt, and I'd say, "Why don't you just take it a little easy?" And you just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
In terms of psychology, when we talk about a lot of guys on the Indies, just wrestlers in general, really looking up to what you do in the ring and stuff, trying to emulate your style. I always look back to a moment that we had. A lot of people probably don't know this. We lived together for a long time. We
Yep.
lived together for 7 years. So, I mean, I lived upstairs from you.
Yep.
Upstairs, downstairs situation. So it was my own place. But for the most part, we spent a lot of time together. Just picking each other's brains, exchanging ideas for wrestling stuff. One thing that's always stuck out in my mind that you told me, there'd be a lot of nights where you have a hard time sleeping. And there was a point where we were having a discussion where you said to me that your brain doesn't shut off. And you would talk to me about how when you try to go to sleep, you're thinking about like wrestling spots and ideas. And I always link that to one of the reasons why you're on a different level as a wrestler. I mean, because I don't know if that's a normal mindset of you joke a lot and you say, you kind of brush off wrestling sometimes, or, but I think your passion is so deep for it, and that mindset, like, it's not normal, is what I'm saying, for a guy to lay his head down on a pillow when he's supposed to go to sleep, and he can't because he's thinking about his next moves for the next match, the next weekend, the weekend after that. So it's like, do you still have that same problem? Do you still have that same mindset? Do you let these ideas and these thoughts for promos and storylines and in-ring stuff consume you to the point where maybe that's the thing that drives you and puts you on this different playing field that no one else is on?
I mean, I do, but I've found a different way to control it. I still do think about wrestling in every walk of life. Doesn't matter if I'm watching a movie. Doesn't matter if I'm listening to a song. Everything is wrestling to me. Everything can be worked into wrestling in some way, shape, or form. But anymore, what I try to do, I try very, very hard to do this, is I try to not, if I have a big takeover match coming up, and that's like my main focus, I purposely try to not think about it until like 2 weeks before, just because I know I give myself like that break of like, don't think about stuff. Like, there'll still be things that pop into my head, but I try to not like purposely, I think that's a word, think about it until like 2 weeks before, just because I know once the 2 weeks comes, that I give myself like a cutoff, and once that 2 weeks starts, I know I'm going to be so deep in it that that's going to be the only thing I think about. So I try to just give myself kind of a mental break in between takeovers, where I try to not fully divulge and fully think about this match for like a long period of time, but like there'll still be things that pop into my head. But like I said, I have this cutoff that I have where like 2 weeks. Once 2 weeks comes, 2 weeks till takeover, then I'll start kind of digging deep and like let my mind open up a little bit and think about all these different ideas, or start watching more wrestling things that might pertain to my current situation or current story. Like, I don't know how many matches I've randomly thought of when me and Candice are walking around Disney World, like just walking, and just like all of a sudden she'll just look over and see me just moving in a weird way, and she'll ask me if I'm calling a spot, which I am in my own head. Yeah, she knows I'm doing it. But yeah, so like I said, I've controlled it a little bit better now, to where I try to not think about it. If it is a big match, I try to not think about it until a couple weeks beforehand, just so I can actually get some rest and not just obsess over it so much.
Let's talk about something that's a big part of Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Gargano, the Gargano face that you wear on your tights, on your entrance outfit. I was there when you created this Gargano face.
See, the thing is, a lot of people think there's a lot of like a really deep meaning to all of this, and you know the real story behind this. So like, I'll let you go ahead and say that you were there for. I
mean, I was there, but I want you to tell the story.
There really isn't. That's the funny thing about it. There is no story. Like, there's literally no story. It's still on. There's literally no story, because there was a program on the computer called like Logo Maker.
Yep.
I looked through it. Mm-hmm. I saw it, which was basically just a bunch of uncopyrighted logos that you could use for different things.
Yep.
I saw that logo and I was like, "Oh, that looks pretty cool. I'm gonna put it on some tights," and that's it. That's literally it.
You tinkered with it. You tinkered with it a little bit. Like,
I mean, that logo itself was. I mean, there was different faces.
Yeah.
I particularly picked the Winky one because I thought it was I thought it was cute. I don't know.
Well, I think I don't know if there was a mindset behind it, but like there was a lot of promo pics at the time where you were doing the winky face,
thing,
or like
true.
pointing the dimple. So like I think
too.
that kind of was like the mindset going into it. But like that was really it.
That's it.
There's no
and now it's
meaning.
all over WWE merchandise and on my Titantron
and it's something you created.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool that you get to have that sort of say so.
Yep.
Like you were able to take that, you were able to take Johnny Wrestling and the whole shebang and all that. You were able to take that to WWE, because we used to talk. You know, if you ever got signed to WWE, like, what would your WWE name be?
Yep.
What would your character be? You appeared as Cedric Van Housen.
I did.
Back on SmackDown 2007.
Yep.
You did, was it Superstars as Joey Gray?
Uh-huh.
You did some stints as an extra, just doing NXT security, all that good stuff. Do you remember any of your proposed WWE names that you would have had you had to change your name?
I always wanted to keep the Johnny Wrestling thing. So I wanted to be Johnny something, just so I could be Johnny Wrestling. just in case they wouldn't let me beat Johnny Gargano. So I toyed with like Johnny something. I can't remember any other names I picked. Like probably some weird ones that I just didn't like. But yeah, I never really had a backup plan. I probably would have thought more about it if it came down to it. But Johnny Gargano was always the one I was going for. Even though Johnny Gargano wasn't my initial wrestling name when I first started, it was John Gargano. And then JT just spelled my name wrong on flyers a bunch, and he called me Johnny, so he would just write Johnny on the flyers.
That probably worked out for the best.
Oh, yeah, it's way better of a name, so
yeah.
Thanks for that one. So.
Let's talk about a big part of both of our respective wrestling careers, Pro Wrestling Ohio. Now, so we haven't even touched on this. First time we met. Do you remember the first time we met?
I imagine it was at JT's.
Technically speaking, the first time we met was at AIW.
You were like a security
I was
guard-ish,
security,
yeah.
and it was just one of those things where I introduced yourself. But I think the first time we met was you were training with only Action Dan Spade. He was a trainee at the time. I came in, JT wasn't there, and I think I had to referee a match for you two because I wasn't trained to do anything. I think I had like 1 or 2 tryout things at JT school, and that was the beginning. We worked and became close friends over the course of that year. Cleveland All Pro Wrestling disbands. Pro Wrestling Ohio becomes this thing that's on Sports Time Ohio. Originally it was CAPW, now it's PWO, okay? We talk about it a lot off air, but in general, I don't know if we understood at the time the exposure that Pro Wrestling Ohio had, because being on Sports Time Ohio, it was technically available in 4 million homes if you had a satellite dish or a sports package, not only in the United States, but in parts of Canada. So I don't know how often this happens to you. I was telling you about it pretty recently. I was in San Francisco. The promoter and like 12 fans walked up to me and said they used to watch me on PWO all the time. I was in Texas last month. A kid I worked with told me that after the match that he had watched Johnny Gargano versus Gregory Iron, he was nervous about wrestling me, which was weird to me. And when I hear those things, I should just be happy, but it's very frustrating because I don't know. At the time, we were like, 19 and 20, 20 and 21? Like, we didn't understand the type of exposure we were getting to that show. There was so much potential that it never lived up to. I mean, am I right here?
Yeah, I mean, it probably could have been the number 2 company.
I mean, it had enough exposure, yeah. But I don't know if we had the talent because, so when it began, Josh Prohibition was booking.
Yep.
He proposed a list for the promoter of talent to bring in, and it was a who's who of professional wrestling. Do you remember anybody on this list?
I think like Brody Lee or Luke Harper, I guess, who eventually came, but he was on the list. I don't remember who else.
Alex Shelley.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Sabin.
Yeah.
Sanjay Dutt. Petey Williams.
It was a very heavy UWA hardcore.
Yes. So that was
as well.
That was a promotion up in Canada, one of the best independent pro wrestling promotions at the time. So this list gets proposed. The promoter ends up saying, I have a budget of like $700 a show. So basically that list gets crumbled up and we get what we get out of Pro Wrestling Ohio. That's when we had our first real big match. Basically I had a concussion in real life, and we kind of played off of that in the storyline. It was this, you were a heel at the time.
Yep.
And I was obviously the handicapped, cerebral palsied baby face. I got a win over you. And then we did this storyline where this win ends up eating away at you because you have this pretty flawless record. You're teaming with Josh Prohibition, who is your mentor, both on screen and off camera. And even though you're getting all these wins, people are still reminding you that this guy with one arm had beat you in a match. And it culminated in a situation where you attacked me. Do you remember anything leading up to that or that angle specifically? What do you remember?
I remember the angle being very, I'm trying to think of the right verbiage here. It was a very different feeling angle. It was a very different feeling, especially when I attacked you. Like the crowd was just a different vibe coming from it.
Yeah.
Like they obviously, like in this day and age, like Because even in that day and age, like people kind of knew behind the curtain a little bit everything that was going on. But like people legitimately bought everything that was going on between us in that time period. And that angle like actually got me my TNA tryout too, because they saw it and they saw it was so good, and they actually Bob Ryder from TNA actually watched PWO as well, and like that whole angle like just really caught his attention. It caught a lot of people's attention because that, like you said, we still get talked about it. People still talk to us about it today, and it's just I just remember that, and I remember the big blow off match we had probably really sucked. Looking back at it now, it was not a good match.
Yeah, I mean, like
last man standing matches kind of suck.
they do. I think part of the problem was I watched that match not too terribly long ago, more than 2 years ago probably, and there was a lot of stuff that we never do anymore that we did in that match. But for the most part, the psychology wasn't what it could have been, and I think that's what bothers us most about it, because we really didn't play into the 10 count as much as we should. And I remember specifically, we both had to remind Tom Dunn, the referee, to count because we'd be down, and he just wasn't counting. And I don't think we played it up into it until the finish. And I feel like we probably went about 20 minutes. I think we were given we definitely weren't given 20. And I feel like we were rushing the ending. So it's like one of those things where, again, going back to what we were talking about, like being the biggest critics of our own work, we rushed the ending. But in general, we had to do an impromptu finish for that match. Do you remember that?
Did the table? Was there something with the table that didn't?
You were supposed to put me through a table.
Yeah.
I went to pull the table from out under the ring, and I ripped the table leg. And this was early in the match, and I walked up to you and I said, "Well, we don't have a table." So.
Oh yeah, I did it on the steps instead.
Yeah, which actually worked out better. It was one of those situations where the audible was better than what we planned.
I was gonna go off the steps through the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which looking back, that probably wouldn't have ended well. But in general, to me, that feud was very special, and it helped me a lot as a wrestler. I always attest to my grasp of psychology, at least in the beginning, because technically, like, you were the trainer, but I feel like we learned a lot together, right? And so I remember even before that feud started, anytime someone wants to talk to me about like psychology, like a young guy or anything, I always think back to that first match we ever had, which was behind a bar outside in front of like no one. I mean, I think really the only spectators were people across the street watching the show. And I remember we called that match maybe the day of or the day before.
Probably,
lifting weights up in technically my upstairs, but it was a living room that you basically had converted into the gym, and I just never changed it because, there weren't any girls coming over to see us, so we just kept the living room the gym. And I remember you were the first person that told me why we were doing things. And that was the first time anything started making sense to me, because when I started training, the idea of remembering my stuff for a match, remembering someone else's stuff, remembering an entire match for 6, 8, 10, 12 minutes, whatever it would have been, was crazy to me. But once you started telling me how to put things together and why we were doing it, it was the first time that like I had a grasp of anything. So to be able to have that feud with you, and it culminated in that last man standing match, even though looking back on it now, it wasn't what we could do today, it was very special. So much so that afterwards, covered in blood, I'm sure you remember our interaction backstage after the match.
I mean, I know before the match, we got into a fight the night before.
That was the typical theme with those big resolution shows for PWO. What was the fight the night before? What was it about?
I can't remember what it was about.
I don't even remember what it was about either.
It might have been something match calling wise.
It might have been
that I didn't agree with you on.
Yeah.
Said I was going to beat you up for real in the match.
And actually, the first match that we had the year before that started the whole feud, I remember whatever we were arguing about, you told me, every time you say something else, that's one more back chop I'm going to give you in the match.
I did back chop him, too.
And you did back chop me in the match, you son of a bitch.
Yep.
And also, you put me in a Walls of Jericho. That it was the worst pain I might have ever been in a match. Like, if I can insert a clip into this for the video purposes, like, you bent me in a way that I was not meant to be bent.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I could not breathe. I felt like my insides were breaking apart. I wanted to die.
I'm a real shooter.
It was horrible.
I'm legit.
But
Legit from head to toe.
so, but of course we argued the night before that match. We argued the night before our last man standing match. But afterwards, covered in blood. I remember before the match. I remember looking at you because it was in the same building that I got the concussion the year before, and I felt weird. And I said, I got a weird feeling about this, and you said, me too. And then we went to the ring, we did the match. I remember my arms went numb for some reason, which I've never had that feeling before or since. And I think it was one of those situations where, I don't know, like, there was this sort of fear that I didn't realize that was there about being in that same building. But after the match, I walked up to you, and I gave you a hug, and I thanked you for everything that you've ever done for me. Because I was living upstairs from you, and I felt like you taught me so much as a wrestler. And for me, I felt like in that moment, no matter how crappy I am, how many fights we get into, because we fought like brothers over the years, I always wanted you to look back at that moment and think like, hopefully that you would think like, Greg appreciates, you know, what you've done for me, you know?
Yeah.
That's the reaction.
He's really good with feelings.
Really great with emotion. See, that's the type.
Best at feelings of anybody I know.
That's the type of response.
It's an ongoing trend, by the way.
Yeah. So for years, I've been trying to get Johnny to say "I love you," because you know we've been through so much together. A lot that you can't even cover in one podcast, to be honest.
He's got ice water running through these veins, guys.
Yeah. Stone cold, quite frankly.
For the record.
I don't have. Oh, is it my birthday officially?
Whoa! It is
my birthday.
midnight. We've been talking for so long.
Yeah.
It is now.
I was just. It's my birthday, and I was just gonna talk about how I don't feel anything, and that's why
Best birthday song.
I don't feel pressure. I don't feel anything. I just feel like I was made to do this, so I just don't.
What
feel
makes
anything.
Johnny Gargano feel?
don't
What
know.
gives you like legitimate
Movies
like,
on airplanes? I guess that gets me going.
How so?
I get real emotional. I cry all the time on airplanes or in movies.
For
yeah.
movies, is it
Oh,
because
yeah.
like you have to be quiet and deep in thought? I don't understand.
No, I feel for these characters, and it makes me feel emotional, especially on airplanes. Airplanes will get me no matter what. But yeah, before every takeover match, like I'm in Gorilla. I look at John Hunter, and I'm like, what I was made to do.
I don't know how. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, this is what I was made to do.
For a
Right.
wedding day, I walked down the aisle and he was just cold as ice, man.
Yep.
He did not care about marrying you, Candice. It's unfortunate.
He came down to Macho Man's song and it was beautiful. And
That's true. But no, I felt something when Greg did his best man speech, but then he.
not when I came down the aisle, but, you know.
Well, when it was over, when we did our vows, I felt something too. But I also I felt something when you did your best man speech. But then
For real?
yeah,
like
but
you
then,
really
but then
did.
you blew it. So
Are you only saying that just
no,
so
it's
you
true.
could segue into
No, it
me
was a
bl-
good. It was a good speech. And then you blew it.
Yeah,
So
maybe the greatest speech
Yeah.
and then
I
Yeah.
killed my own speech. Yeah, by trying to make a joke because I don't know how to like be completely serious sometimes.
it's okay. Now it's not.
I'm getting birthday texts now from officials in the company.
Wow. It's incredible. Does that make you feel something?
No.
Okay. Let's take this.
I wanted it while you were talking about our original feud and the match at the Nautica. I wanted to try to shoehorn your arms went numb because you probably didn't eat an Italian BMT that day.
Okay. So
If you look at the pictures from the show,
at that point in my life, I
homeboy
was
is probably a legit 245.
I was not 245. I am 5'4", and at the time,
He used to eat just pepperoni every day.
that's not true.
Yep.
I was
He used to eat. He also used to eat the turkey, like just the lunch meat.
that's where the problem was because I was buying
with
turkey.
17 grams of fat.
It was 5 grams of fat per piece. There was like 16 pieces, and I didn't understand, like, really, I was still learning nutrition. And so because of that, because I just thought all turkey was lean, I had gone from like $140
Yeah, to 245.
to 169, which was the most I ever weighed in my life.
We'll
And
attach
I-
a picture to
And
it.
I remember,
I made a shirt of it.
no, you didn't. There was one time, who stayed over? Was it Trick Davis?
Yeah, probably.
Trick
yeah.
Davis stayed over the house one time, and he
Yeah.
saw the picture of us from Last Man Standing match, us face to face,
Yeah.
and he looked at it. He said, "Greg, were you on the gas
Yeah,
back
you look
then?"
like it.
I was not. I was just dieting improperly.
You're eating Italian BMTs every day from
I was
Subway.
not. I did love Italian BMTs, but that was before I actually started.
You weren't
training hard.
listening, and you weren't taking the advice of Triple H and making the game where you get a turkey, you get a 6-inch turkey, double meat.
Double meat. You
on
always
Yeah.
get double meat. That
Making
was
the game. That's
best,
how you do it.
The best advice you
Yep.
could have ever given. Speaking of advice, do you have any advice for younger talent on the independent circuit right now? What would you say to them?
So, the advice I always give, I guess this is kind of my trademark sort of Johnny Gargano spiel. Whenever anyone asks me for like tips and tricks and things like that, but I always just tell them like, never forget that you're a wrestling fan and that really can't steer you wrong. Just because like I think when you start losing the reason you love this, you start losing the sight of that. You start losing and start thinking it in the terms of like, those are the fans and I'm a performer and like I'm not like those are the marks, and that's my least favorite term I guess ever is mark, because
I
we're all
agree.
marks.
Yep.
So like I think when fans, yeah, it's yeah, when fans call other fans marks, like quit being a mark. Like I hate that so much, because like literally like I'm in wrestling and I am a mark, so we're all marks. Like we're literally just all fans of this. So everyone just be cool. Like so my advice is always just like never lose sight of what made you a wrestling fan, because when you think about it in that aspect, when you think about it in the aspect of like I do this for this reason, or I get that emotion, this will evoke that emotion because that's how I would feel. Like just like think about what you think would be cool. Think about what you think would like make you react, and kind of do that. And like that's really about it, like never lose your passion, never lose your hunger. Always try to be better, and just be a good person too, like especially on the indies, like the best advice I can give to anyone in the indies too is like this business is very much so like if someone likes you, if someone wants to give you an opportunity, if someone wants to put their name out for you, like it's very much so about who you know. It's very much so about it is about how talented you are, but also you need to be reliable, you need to be dependable, and you need to be a good person. And really that goes for any walk of life. Just be a good person. Be a good person on the internet. Be a good person like everywhere. Just everyone just be nice to one another. I don't understand this whole like weird generation now where like everyone's just mean to one another. It just doesn't make sense. Just be a good person, and that's all you really need to do.
Is there anyone in the independent circuit right now that you see that could have potential, could be a next WWE superstar?
It's so hard because it's such a weird time period where like I don't know what is considered independent and what is considered not independent.
Sure.
And like there's just everyone's under contract somewhere, someplace.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess one of the obvious ones, I guess he could be independent. It's Matt Cross. I guess I can say him, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is that really what he's
Absolutely.
doing?
I think he defines independent in a lot of ways.
yeah.
I mean, he was the guy that we both looked up to coming
So-
up as young wrestlers.
So I'd say Matt deserves, I guess, whoever. I mean, wherever he wants to go, he deserves a contract somewhere. I'm trying to think of young guys. I don't see it's so hard because I try to stay in the bubble and I try to like keep my eye out, but like there's just so much going on nowadays and so much wrestling going on nowadays that like I try to watch as much as I can, but it's just like it's too much at times. Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to be biased and say Matt, I guess.
Good call. Last thing. What, above all else, inspires you, and what's next?
What inspires me? Man, I don't know. I guess my legacy inspires me. And I don't just talk in the sense of like what I've done, but I guess it's like because I feel like I touched on this earlier, where like I had this sense of accomplishment where I've reached a lot of my goals. Like I've had matches that my heroes are fans of. I've built relationship with my heroes. Like I've had matches that fans obviously enjoy. Like I've won titles. I've won awards. Like I've gotten tons of accolades, and that's always awesome. And like, I don't know. Like I think I never feel like I have a sense of accomplishment, but I'm never satisfied. Like I'm still that like chubby 8-year-old kid who ate cheese ravioli. So like I'm just like, I never feel like I'm good enough. I never feel like what I've done is good enough. I never feel like what I've done is enough. And like for my whole life I've been fighting and like I've been wrestling. I think I've said this before. I've been wrestling for love. I've been wrestling out of love, but I've also been wrestling for love. I've been wrestling for people to love me. And it's just weird now because with Candice and being married and like having a family basically almost soonish, it's just like that's a different thing. But like I still do really care what people think about me, and I probably shouldn't, because like I said, you can't please everyone in this day and age, and you're always going to have haters, and you're always going to have people that try to bring you down, but I genuinely do care about what people think. And that's not even just like a performance aspect, that's just a person aspect. That's why I try to always treat everyone fairly and treat everyone kindly. Like if I see people waiting out for autographs, or me and Candice are out in Disney World or in public and people come up and want a picture, I'll always do it. I'll never say no. I'll always stop by the guardrail and sign whatever. I'll always stop at the airport and sign whatever, because I remember what it's like to be a wrestling fan. But like I just want people to think like, oh, that Johnny Gargano, he's a good person and he worked really, really hard. And, you know, obviously in the ring, I would like people to think I'm one of the best. But, like I said, you can't please everyone, and I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But if I can get about 75% of people, I guess that's good enough for me.
Well, I can assure you I've known you since 2006 now. And that's crazy. Like, that's 13 years.
Yeah, 13 years.
And I tell people all the time, I think when we were younger, there was a lot of people that didn't know you because you were quiet, and some people I guess kind of assumed that you were a dick because you were quiet.
Yeah.
And you've just always been a shy guy, and you've kept to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And
I still am.
yeah.
Very much so a shy person.
And it's just one of those things where it's like,
but I'm shy, but it's also like now I feel like I have a sense of, I don't want to say purpose, but like a sense of like, I got more confidence just because of what I've been able to accomplish. Like
Yeah.
I feel like when I walk in a room now, people kind of look at me and like, oh, that's Johnny Gargano. So people like are excited to see me now, as opposed to before where I was just like this dude who was never really confident in himself and like didn't really believe in himself. But now I believe in myself a little bit more, and I believe in what I do. But yeah,
yeah. But you know, you summed it up best there, because that's what I always say to people too. It's like, you are a dude. You're just a dude, right? You're
Yep.
just a dude that happened to have a dream that you pursued, and you were lucky enough to capture that dream. And that's the way I describe myself too. It's like, I'm just a dude, right? And we were just having this conversation a few months back. I did Austin's podcast, and again, we basically came up as young adults on the independent wrestling scene in the ghetto of Cleveland. And, you know, I feel like we're no different than anybody else. And it's one of those situations where we're talking like, what kind of weird world do we live in where you're regularly chatting with Shawn Michaels, I'm regularly chatting with Stone Cold. Essentially the main event of WrestleMania 14 that in a lot of ways ushered in the Attitude Era in 1998. It's a weird time to be alive, but it just goes back to show that, like, you know, the hardest step you'll ever take towards any dream is that first one, right? And it never gets easier. But as long as you can have the courage to take that first step, you've done more than most people. And I think for you, if it all ends tomorrow, Johnny, you've accomplished a lot. And I think your legacy as a pro wrestler, as a human being, is going to stand the test of time. You are, you're an incredible person.
I do what I can.
Yeah, and so, and I think a lot of your fans know that, and proud to be your friend.
Thanks, man.
So
Appreciate it.
thanks for doing this podcast, and we still don't have a name. I think we went about an hour here.
You just gotta, I guess, you gotta interview a bunch of people about an hour before their birthday. That's your new.
That's the new gimmick.
That's the new thing. So
Okay.
it's a happy birthday podcast.
Happy
So,
birthday podcast.
Yeah. So good luck. Good luck finding other people that are gonna do this at 11.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and a few hours, I guess we'll get up and eat some cake.
Sure.
Sweet. Everyone knows that I love good vintage wrestling merch. But when I want the best of the best, when it comes to finding vintage wrestling memorabilia, I go to the Savage Stash. The Savage Stash is your wheeler and dealer for the best in vintage wrestling shirts, hats, jackets, accessories, and everything in between. I've picked up some of my all-time favorite vintage items from the Savage Stash, and that's including the original Hunter Hearst Helmsley How to Be a Snob tee from 1995, and I've never seen that anywhere else online. And just last year, I picked up a vintage 1996 WWF Royal Rumble tee that I gifted to Johnny Gargano for his birthday. It was in mint condition, and I'm telling you, Johnny could not have been happier when he opened that up, because I know the Royal Rumble in 96 meant a lot to him with Shawn Michaels winning and everything. I've also got a wide variety of fanny packs from the Savage Stash over the years, including a rare WWF Championship fanny pack from 1991, and of course, their ultra-stylish green and purple 3-pocket Savage Stash fanny pack that I use to store all of my goodies when I'm on the road. Right now on SavageStash.com, they're selling exclusive Intercontinental Championship pins with interchangeable white and black straps. You can get black or white strap alone for $10, the black or the white strap with the plate for $20, or you can get both straps and the plate for just $30. That's right, $30. And if you're buying this pin or any other fanny packs, hats, or vintage merch at thesavagestash.com, you can use promo code IRON, I-R-O-N, at checkout to save 10% on your order. That's right, it's an exclusive offer to listeners of Iron on Wrestling. If you go to thesavagestash.com and buy any items at all and use the promo code IRON, the Savage Stash will take 10% off your entire order. To see all of their current or past items, go to www.thesavagestash.com, follow them at The Savage Stash on Twitter or Instagram, and like them on Facebook at The Savage Stash. Hey, what are you waiting for? If you're looking for the best in vintage merch, go to the place that can't be topped. Check out the Savage Stash, the absolute cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. Well, that was the interview with Johnny Wrestling. Aaron, give me 3 things you learned from that interview today.
Okay. Number 1, that weird half kind of smile face thing that Johnny has is like his logo.
Yeah.
That's new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew the origin of that.
Yep.
Number 2, these indie guys now, they're calling spots like that's the Gargano.
Yeah, super weird.
Yeah, right? Because, like, when he would call those spots to me as, I managed him, he would say, like, whatever their legit name was, and I just didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was always, hardest thing for me to ever do in wrestling was to manage Johnny Gargano. He does so many moves, and his mind works in a way that I don't know that anyone else's does.
He's on another level.
Right. And then third would be, I guess that his middle name is Henry, and his name is, his full given name, his government is Jonathan Henry Gargano Jr. the Third. And that surprised me because I didn't know that in all these years that I knew him.
Did you even listen to the interview, or were you just kind of tuning in and out? You never said that.
I was tuning up the band.
All right. That being said, let's go to some social media plugs to end the show here. Obviously, you need to like Iron on Wrestling on any of the social media platforms. Like, follow. We're talking Facebook.com. Like Iron on Wrestling. Leave some comments. Do some interaction there. Twitter at Iron on Wrestling. Instagram at Iron on Wrestling. And obviously, as I mentioned, the podcast is available on most major podcast downloadable sites. We're talking Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, Google Play, TuneIn, YouTube, and hopefully, as this is airing, we're up on iTunes. Subscribe wherever you like downloading podcasts. Leave a comment. Leave some feedback. Let's get some critiques from you guys about this episode through the social media. What did you like? What didn't you like? Is the sound quality okay? Because I know we had some episodes on episode 0. I don't know. What type of episodes are you going to look for from us in the future? Like maybe we could do some, some polls or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a poll right now. How about What do you want my name to be? Because, Greg, in episode 0, you said I was Aaron Bauer, Aaron McGuire, or just Aaron. And my shoot name's Aaron Simmons. And I've been called Fresh Aaron. And I've been Aaron the Fresh. And I don't know. What do you people want? Do you want to make up a name? Do you want to call me Aaron Turd Burglar? Or I don't know. Put something up online and let's get these people to vote on. You can vote what my name is as the co-host, or as the host, and you're the co-host of Aaron on Wrestling.
I want people to send in the worst names possible, and I swear to God, at some point we're going to set up a poll.
Please just
whatever the poll ends up being and wins, that's going to be your name from now on.
And I like that. I'm okay with that.
You're setting yourself up for a potentially bad situation.
I've done that my whole life.
Well, that's true.
I've been through several marriages. I know what that's like. Okay. That's who I am, and I'm okay with it now. I've come to that realization.
Where can people find you on social media?
I don't know. I mean, like,
come on.
You know, if you go to Twitter, I'm at Fair to Air, FAIRTOAAR. But I don't even have that app downloaded on my phone because I'm rolling to Pokemon Go right now. And so, like, it takes up so much space that I had to delete Twitter and Instagram. So, but you know, I'll get to it eventually. I don't know. Something will work out. If we make some money here, you know, maybe I can expand the space on my Obama phone.
Well, you know, money would be nice, but it's not about the money. It's about the content that we're providing, and hopefully we're providing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in
value.
it for the wrong reasons then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You greedy bastard. Follow Aaron on Twitter at Fair to Air. That's AAR. Follow me, obviously, on social media. You can find me on Twitter at Gregory Iron. Instagram at Gregory_Iron because some rat bastard has Gregory Iron and he's never on Instagram with that tag.
Yeah, but I saw him on Instagram before.
He's a piece of garbage. I hate him. Facebook.com/TheHandicappedHero. And if you can't remember any of that, just go to my website, www.gregory-iron.com. You should be able to find some photos of me, some cool bios. You can listen to podcasts.
Wait. You've actually posted some photos of you?
Well, there's, you know.
Maybe a couple.
Every now and then, you know. I try to keep up with the website and the social media and stuff. But, yeah, and if you like to book me for professional wrestling, you can do that through my website. I also do speaking engagements in schools and businesses. So if you're interested in something like that, you can find all the topics that I talk about and discuss and the workshops that I have available at your school or business. You can bring Gregory Iron. So just www.gregory-iron.com for bookings. And that's it for this week. Next week, we are going to have Johnny Gargano back for one more round. Episode 2 of Iron on Wrestling, and we are going to focus on Hunter and Shawn and his relationship with them. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite Shawn Michaels and Triple H moments, and then kind of talk about how it feels to be on the same level as two of his heroes. What do you think about that, Aaron?
I like it. I can't wait to hear what his middle name is next week.
You are something. All right, that's it, guys. Like and subscribe and follow all the social medias. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we didn't suck, and if we did, just keep it to yourself, okay? Don't post that on social media because I don't need anybody hearing that.
Just give
lie.
a 5-star review.
5-star review. All right. Later, guys.